Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Esdeath has a crush on Naruto harem. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by THAYERBLUE1 link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Snow Country, Kazuhana Castle. The beautiful daimyo of Snow Country, also known as Spring Country, Kazuhana Koyuki, age 27, was sitting in her throne room, speaking with her guests Uzumaki Naruto, age 17, and Haruno Sakura, also age 17. So you see, my own ninjas in the village hidden in the snow have had no luck finding the source of the problem, and the ice is steadily increasing even during the springtime. The Rainbow Glacier generator is functioning properly, and our scientists have concluded the problem lies up in the mountains. Specifically, we think it's from the Kuri caldera. I'm hoping that you'll be able to help us out since you saved this country once already, Naruto-kun. Naruto and Sakura had been in Snow Country for 2 days after receiving the mission from Tsunade a week ago. They'd come by ship and it really took them back to when they traveled to Snow Country before with a film crew for the Princess Gale movie 4 years ago. It seemed like that had been a lifetime ago to the two young ninjas. Given they were teammates and old friends, they reminisced a lot on the way and wondered where Sasuke was wandering at that point in time. All in all, the trip was pleasant enough. However, originally it was planned for Kakashi, Sai and Sakura to come on this mission, but Naruto's new right arm was at full strength now and he was mission ready, so he eagerly joined up. So, it was going to be Kakashi, Sai, Naruto and Sakura. Then, because Tsunade had a diplomatic mission, she sent Kakashi on since he was to be the next Hokage, and Tsunade thought it would be a pain in the ass, Kakashi was out. That left Sai, Naruto and Sakura. Then Sai delivered the coup de grace to the plan by coming down with a chakra exhaustion from making an ink jutsu so large that he fainted. By this point Sakura's head was spinning. She had a good mind to smack Sai around after that, but he was already hospital bound, thus it was Naruto and Sakura's mission. Technically Sakura was in command because Naruto had never been promoted past Genin. He could save the world and get SSS ranked missions, but he still couldn't get a promotion. How did that work? But she considered Naruto her equal for mission purposes, and they pretty much decided things as a team. The last 2 days had been rather stressful for Sakura. The head of the village hidden in the snow had sent a snow ninja to join them as their guide. Unfortunately, this ninja, an older jonin named Isu Shimo, had fallen madly in love with Sakura at first sight and made Naruto's crush on her when they were kids seem subtle by comparison. Isu Shimo had made multiple attempts to get her alone or have a few drinks in order to seduce her, so Naruto, of all people, was having to run interference. Just as shocking to Sakura, the daimyo Koyuki-sama had made several less than subtle hints that she was interested in Naruto, giving her an heir. Koyuki asked him how he felt about having a family while hinting around that she wanted one. She'd asked him what he thought about moving to Snow Country since he was a hero here. Then Koyuki-sama offered him the job as head ninja of the hidden snow village and seemed intent on having Naruto as her husband, or at least her paramour. Can anything get any more awkward? Ranted the Pinkette to herself. She was brought out of her ravings by Naruto, who was in mission mode. Don't worry, Koyuki-sama. Sakura-chan and I will get to the bottom of this, said Naruto. He cringed, Isu-san as our guide, will head to the Kuri caldera immediately and find out what's going on. The daimyo just giggled. Just call me Koyuki or Koyuki-chan, Naruto-kun. There should be no formalities between us since we're such old friends. She winked at Naruto and basically purred, I'll be sure to give you a very warm welcome when you return, Naruto-kun. On the positive side at least, she didn't lick her teeth at him. Naruto and Sakura both bowed in respect and departed quickly. Sakura was really hoping they'd somehow accidentally miss Isu Shimo on the way out, but her hopes were shattered when he appeared dramatically in the hall and said, "Ah, Sakura-hime. Being away from your beauty these few hours has been so painful. I missed you at breakfast. Your gorgeous pink hair and emerald eyes are like the air I breathe to me. I just can't live without them." He then presented her with a rose. "Please accept this small token of my endless affections I hold in my heart for you." Sakura was perspiring heavily. Oh gods, we haven't even started the mission yet and I want to slowly painfully murder this twit. Naruto, I can't begin to tell you how sorry I am for slugging or pounding your head all the time for asking me for dates when we were kids. She thought guiltily. Then she looked at Isu and cringed at his heated stare. What am I going to do about this guy? Thanks Isu-sen, she said weakly as she took the flower. Oh Sakura-hime, there's no need to be formal, said the snow ninja. It's so adorable what a shy and demure maiden you are. Please feel free to call me your Shimo-kun. Seeing the foppish snow ninja presenting his clammy, pale-skinned teammate with a flower and flashing her a smile, Naruto thought to himself with a massive sweat drop, is this guy for real? I mean, my standards are pretty damn low, but this guy's lines are from cheap romance novels. I read one once, and I've regretted it ever since. Even worse, he's old enough to be Sakura-chan's dad. Back in Konoha, Sakura's father Haruno Kizashi sneezed. Someone must be talking about me, he thought aloud. His wife Mibuyuki just shook her head at her husband's antics. Snow Country, Kuri Caldera Underground. And this is where you shall remain forever by order of Prime Minister Honest for your treasonous actions in use of the Jaegers and traitorously sparing a member of Night Raid. Your own Tigu Demon's extract will remain active, and this prison of ice is where you will die alone and forgotten. That was 2 years ago. Imperial General Esdeath, current age 24, remembered it only too well. Night Raid and the Jaegers' bloodiest clash yet ended with her badly injured and the man she loved. Tatsumi of Night Raid wounded as well. Despite the fact he was her enemy. Esdeath basically pleaded with Tatsumi to join her and couldn't bring herself to finish him off. In the end, the Prime Minister's forces captured her in her weakened state and beheaded Tatsumi before her very eyes. It broke her temporarily, and the Prime Minister ordered her shipped off to another place where she would die alone in this prison created by her own Tigu. Esdeath had a golden amulet hung around her neck that kept the Tigu active and drained her power to fuel it. On the other hand, the amulet kept her from dying from lack of food or water, meaning she'd been completely alone and without any form of human contact for 2 long years. She barely had the strength to move after the 2 years of this living hell. But regardless, her will was stronger than ever. She decided when not if she got out of this prison, she would personally destroy the empire with her own 2 hands and that the Prime Minister would die in the slowest, most torturous way possible. There was the problem that she didn't even know where she was, of course, but somehow, someway she would get revenge. The strong survive and the weak die. She said aloud. It was her code of living, and Esdeath was the strongest the empire had ever seen. They would not live to regret what they'd done to her. Snow Country, capital city. Naruto, Sakura and their guide Shimo set out for the mountains early in the morning. They had their heavy winter gear on, and Shimo was wearing his chakra armor as well. He'd suggested that when this mission was over that Sakura come back to the snow village with him and they could get her chakra armor as well. For some reason or other, Shimo tended to forget Naruto was there during these conversations between him and his Sakura Haim. Chakra armor has all kinds of advantages, Sakura Haim. I believe it would suit you well. Of course, a beauty such as yourself would look fabulous in anything. Sakura thought to herself, if we could harness the power of his non-stop talking, I'd imagine that the energy needs of Snow Country would be assured for decades. I'm going to go deaf. Doesn't he ever shut up? Naruto was having similar thoughts. This guy loves the sound of his own voice. I wonder how he has time to breathe with all that hot air spewing out of his mouth. Note to self. Get ears checked for hearing damage after this mission is over. And this is the base of the beautiful Kuri Mountain, said Shimo, sounding like a tour guide. Once we get to the top, we'll see the magnificent Kuri Caldera and hopefully get to the bottom of this. Please let me know if you start to tire, Sakura Haim, because I will be glad to carry you. Sakura looked slightly ill at the concept and said, I assure you that won't be necessary, Isu-san. When they reached the top 2 hours later, both Konoha ninjas were seriously contemplating throwing Shimo off the mountaintop to see how many times he would bounce before his body was reduced to the consistency of paste. Since Shimo's overzealous flattery of Sakura didn't seem to be working, he decided to talk about his many brave deeds as a snow ninja and what a manly man he was. That really didn't impress Sakura too much, given she was close to both Naruto and Sasuke, who were among the strongest shinobi that had ever existed, not to mention she'd been involved in saving the world from Kaguya herself. The 3 finally reached the edge of the caldera and looked down into it. There was about a 30-foot drop down to the frozen lake that filled the caldera and a small island in the center. Starting at the island and fanning out to the edges were spikes of ice much like stalagmites. It was obvious they were formed by some sort of ice jutsu. Well, that can't be natural. A frozen lake should be flat. I wonder what caused this ice formation, commented Shimo. Thank you, Captain Obvious, thought Naruto. I would imagine that is part of the mystery we need to solve here, commented Sakura. Beautiful and intelligent. You certainly have it all, Sakura Haim, gushed Shimo. Sakura ignored that comment and turned to Naruto. Can you sense anything, Naruto? Naruto was already in sage mode and was reaching out to sense the flow of energy in the area. There is a well of chakra directly under the island that is feeding these ice formations. I only sense one person there though, and that person's chakra isn't all that high. This ice formation was probably built up gradually over time. Sakura nodded. Koyuki-sama did say the problem started about 2 years ago. It makes sense. She turned to Shimo and asked, do you know any ice manipulation jutsus that can clear us a path, Isu-san? I'll unleash my Wolfang avalanche jutsu, said Shimo. Take a few steps back, Sakura Haim, and I'll demonstrate my awesome power. Calling out the name of the jutsu, a pack of wolves formed out of ice charged down into the lake of ice spikes and promptly shattered against the spikes, leaving the stalagmite-like formation unharmed. That's quite a jutsu. Quipped Naruto. Sakura just groaned and Shimo had the decency to blush. Let me try again. Said Shimo. Naruto shook his head. I'll just make a small lava release Rasengan and lob it through. We'll see if that doesn't melt a path. Descending to the icy lake surface below. Naruto created a Fuma shuriken-shaped Rasengan using his lava release that easily burned a 3-meter wide path 3/4 of the way to the island. Creating another slightly smaller one, Naruto cleared the rest of the path. Shimo was standing there dumbfounded, but Sakura had already hopped down to the lake surface to join Naruto. Sakura smiled and said, "It seems that new arm of yours works great." Naruto nodded. "Yeah, I have to hand it to Tsunade-bachan. This arm is a real piece of work." Shimo caught up to the two teammates and said, "Well, what are we waiting for? A clear path awaits us. I'll take the lead." Sakura and Naruto glanced at each other and shrugged before they started trailing the annoying snow ninja. It wasn't long before they reached the small dome-shaped island and started searching it over. Shimo soon found a large trapdoor-like grate built into the permafrost. This is strange. There are no records of a structure being built up here. I wonder if this was the doing of Kazuhana during his time in power. Naruto and Sakura soon came over and saw the grating was at least 10 centimeters thick and made of solid steel. It also was coated over in ice like everything else. Naruto took out a kunai and scored the ice, only to find it was hardened with chakra. "Well, I could streamline chakra and try to cut through it, but it would take a while." Shimo said, "Don't be ridiculous, Naruto-san. Let's just use an exploding tag." "I have a simpler solution," said Sakura. "Move over and I'll punch though, Naruto." Naruto stepped back and Shimo saw Sakura cock her arm back to punch the frozen grate. "Wait, Sakura-hime. You could hurt your delicate hand." Boom. The grate broke off its hinges and fell into the room below. Shimo was gaping like a fish as Sakura dusted her knuckles off. Smiling. Sakura said, "Shall we?" as she motioned to the meter-by-meter square hole in the ground. Naruto nodded and hopped down and was immediately followed by Sakura. Shimo was still staring dumbfounded when he heard Sakura's voice from below. "It's all clear, Isu-san. You can come down now." The shaken snow ninja soon climbed down to join the others. Several stories below, Esdeath opened her bleary blue eyes when she felt a smaller tremor and the faint noise of the steel grate being smashed off its hinges. Her eyes suddenly sparked with determination. "Someone is here," she whispered. Naruto, Sakura and Shimo were on the first floor making their way down. The first floor seemed to be some sort of guard station, but it had obviously been empty for a long time. The air was musty and the tables and chairs there were all neatly stacked as if for storage. The two Konoha ninjas quickly found a power switch in the darkness and turned the lights on. There were no signs of anything living having been there recently and no food or any sort of supplies was there either. This place was obviously closed down in an orderly fashion instead of totally abandoned, said Sakura. At least the electricity is still on and the lights work. She could see her breath in the cold, stagnant air. "What do you think this place was?" asked Shimo in a shaky voice. "Was it some sort of hidden military base?" Naruto pried open the doors to an elevator and smelled the stench of death. "This was an old prison. Nothing else smells that way and I've been in several of them. There will probably be some bodies down below, but I still sense a living person." Sakura sighed knowing Naruto was probably right. Naruto looked bothered but determined. Shimo looked like he was going to wet himself in fear. Naruto looked down the darkened elevator shaft before he pulled out a small marble from his pocket and dropped it. Sakura could see he was counting the seconds and soon they heard an echo of the marble hitting something metal with a ping noise. It was an old exercise Kakashi-sensei had taught them. "I'd say it fell about 5 stories before it hit the roof of the elevator, so I'm guessing at least 6 stories. Given the elevator has no power, we can either look for a stairway or go down this shaft and pry open the doors floor by floor." Let's take the stairs," said Shimo. "There would be less risk for you that way, Sakura-hime. I couldn't bear to see you endangered." Naruto rolled his eyes at Shimo's lame excuse and Sakura said, "Let's take the elevator shaft since it's faster." She pulled out a pen flashlight and said, "Do you both have flashlights?" Naruto held his up over his shoulder. They were standard Konoha issue after all. Shimo made a show of checking his uniform for one and then smiled weakly. "I take it you don't have one?" asked Sakura. "I must have left it at home," said Shimo in an embarrassed tone. Sakura truly wondered if this Jonin was really a ninja or not. She face-palmed and said, "Naruto and I will go first then." Downstairs, Esdeath heard voices echoing quietly from the elevator shaft along with a sharp noise of something hitting metal. "What if they are enemies? I'm in no condition to fight them. I'll just have to wait and see. Even if I have to will my body to move, I'll get out of this hell." Sakura and Naruto had cleared out the top 4 floors. Shimo had stayed on the first floor to keep their escape path clear just in case. The two teammates were glad for his decision actually. The top floor was the guard station, and the second, third and fourth floors seemed to be reserved for torture, needlessly grisly torture that no human was meant to survive. Whoever left this place were obviously sadists of the highest order. There were dismembered body parts everywhere. Sakura and Naruto had both seen their fair share of atrocities in Rice Country while raiding some of Orochimaru's labs, but all of those seemed to have a point. Dissections, test subjects and God knows what kind of torture for information and whatnot, but this place was different. It was as if someone who had the mindset to pull the wings off insects for fun had been let loose and created a pointless funhouse of carnage. Naruto looked at a pile of bodies that had been ripped in half or thirds by a weighted torture wheel nearby. Poor bastards, whoever created this place has a special place in hell reserved for them. This is just sick," said Sakura as she teared up. "To do this to living people, it's beyond horrible. The monsters behind this have to die. They didn't even bury the bodies. They just piled them up like refuse." It took the two young ninjas a while to calm down before they proceeded to the 5th floor. It was warmer on those floors but still chilly. Luckily for them, they were prison cells, most of them solitary confinement, as there was only a single body in each. Sakura's medical training kicked back in as she examined a few of the bodies. They were still clothed, unlike the dismembered corpses upstairs. These people starved to death around 10 years ago, judging by their state of decomposition. I'd say at a glance these people were all simply abandoned to die when this hellhole was closed down. "I guess they were the lucky ones then," said Naruto morosely. Sakura nodded sadly. "As horrible as it sounds, I have to agree, Naruto. This floor is clear. We'll have to figure out a way through that elevator to go down further." "Most elevators have access hatches for maintenance," said Naruto. "Let's go check it out." Within a few minutes Naruto indeed found an access hatch on top of the elevator. Given his skill level, it was simple enough to pick the lock and get in. Much to their relief, there were no bodies on the elevator and the push button numbers only went down to 6, meaning this was the last floor unless there was a hidden one. Opening the elevator door, Sakura smelled the musty air but noted that the scent of death wasn't so strong. There was a long line of 20 cells with 10 on either side, but they contained no bodies except 2. The first was right by the entrance and strangely had a military uniform of some sort on a stand outside. It was almost as if the uniform was enshrined there for the prisoner to see. At a glance, Sakura figured this person died around the same time the others did. The second cell was all the way at the end and had a white and black military uniform enshrined in front of it with a rapier and emblemized with a black cross. Inside the cell was a tall, beautiful, and slender woman with long light blue hair, dazed blue eyes and porcelain skin. Sakura could see she was breathing still. "She's alive," whispered Sakura. The woman had a large bosom and a tattoo on her chest that was in a hooked Y shape. Sakura also noticed the golden amulet on her, which looked ornate and incongruous with her plain gray prison clothing. Turning to Naruto, who was in sage mode again, Sakura said, "Let's get her out. She needs our help." Naruto narrowed his eyes. "Don't touch that amulet, Sakura-chan. It's draining her chakras somehow." Esdeath looked at the two people outside her cell through tired eyes, and her eyes widened slightly when the pink-haired young woman physically ripped open the cell doors. "She is strong," thought the former general. Naruto came into her view and she saw him start to glow a golden color. He reached down to the amulet that should have taken his life force and crushed it with his bare hand before he snapped the chain and removed it. Esdeath suddenly felt life flowing back into her. "He saved me." She closed her eyes again, knowing these weren't enemies, and listened to their conversation. "The chakra is returning to her, Sakura-chan," said Naruto. "It's safe now." Sakura nodded and said, "Help me lay her out on the floor so I can examine her. The gods only know how long she's been propped up in that sitting position against the wall." Esdeath groaned when they moved her. The former general's body protested at being moved after sitting in one position for so long. "Be gentle, Naruto. We don't know how fragile her body, or more importantly her mind is," said the pinkette. "I'm trying, Sakura-chan," said Naruto. "I'm going to infuse her with some chakra to warm her up. Her body is ice cold." Esdeath felt the warmth traveling through her body and spirit. As Naruto's glowing hand rested above her heart, she started to feel euphoric at actually having any energy again. Then she saw Sakura's hands glowing green and felt the medic's hands touch her temples and the center of her forehead. Esdeath fell asleep feeling completely warm and safe as a baby. Asahana Castle. Esdeath woke up in a soft bed and saw Sakura pulling her hands away. "There. That medically induced sleep should have kept her resting peacefully while we got some fluids and electrolytes back in her body. She'll still need to eat a lot, but I've remedied all the side effects of malnutrition." The light blue-haired woman opened her eyes and blinked a few times, and Sakura said, "Good. You woke right up. Can you understand me?" The light blue-haired woman croaked, "You are that woman that she coughed and Sakura have her a glass of water that she drank greedily. You saved me from that prison. You and the blonde." "That's right. I don't know how long you were in there, but I'm glad you are intact," said Sakura kindly. "You must be possessed of a very strong will to have survived that. Can you tell me your name?" "I'm Haruno Sakura, a medical ninja from Konoha." Esdeath's eyes widened. "Ninja. They haven't existed since the empire was founded. The Tegu were rumored to have been created to fight ninja-level opponents. I must be far across the Eastern Ocean. I've never heard of this Konoha place, I'm afraid. My name is Esdeath and I once lived in the empire. Perhaps you've heard of it?" Sakura shook her head. "I'm afraid not. Everything we found in that prison you locked up in was of foreign origin. Has your empire even had dealings with Snow Country in the past? That's where we are now. They imported some technology from somewhere years ago like airships." A sliver of recognition shot across Esdeath's face. There was someone from another continent the Prime Minister sold airship technology to over a decade ago. It was far across the Eastern Ocean. "Well, it sounds possible anyway," surmised Sakura. "Why were you locked up in that awful place?" Esdeath's eyes were filled with sadness. "I spared an enemy's life and they branded me a traitor and sentenced me to death as a result." "I take it a war was going on?" asked Sakura. At Esdeath's nod she said, "Then they made an example of you?" Esdeath nodded again. "Well, I'll make sure you're in good shape again before I leave. I am a medic, you know." "I thank you," said the light blue-haired woman. Esdeath may have been a bloodthirsty sadist, but she was truly grateful to Sakura and her companion for rescuing her. "You had a man with you when you saved me." Sakura smiled. "That would be my teammate Uzumaki Naruto. He's been quite concerned about you, actually. He personally carried you out of that prison and down the mountainside to the Snow Country capital." "May I meet him? I would like to thank him," said Esdeath. "I'm sure he'd be happy to stop by when he gets back," said Sakura. "I have a very specific diet planned for you to regain your lost muscle tone and health. As your physician I need you to follow it to the letter, Esdeath-san. If you're from another continent I'm going to need to inoculate you against local diseases here as well so you won't get sick. We're also going to start you off with some regular exercise as well to get you moving around again." Esdeath found over the next few days that she was in the medical ward at Kazuhana Castle in Snow Country. She also found that Sakura was a very thorough and competent medic. "Sakura would make an excellent member of my staff if I were to build a new army here on this continent." The former general's original idea was to head back to the empire alone, but if she could recruit an army of ninjas, she could bring the empire to their knees. Of course, she was getting ahead of herself. Esdeath found out that Naruto had been placed in charge of cleaning out the prison facilities so the dead could be properly buried. People told her that Uzumaki Naruto was the strongest ninja period. Apparently, he'd been a big hero in Snow Country for years that he recently ended the Fourth Shinobi War along with 3 companions. One of which was Sakura. The nurses told Esdeath of how heroic and brilliant he was and that even their daimyo Kazuhana Koyuki-sama wanted to have him as her lover. Esdeath had fought more than one so-called hero to their knees in battle, but she wondered about Naruto and how strong he actually was. She already concluded that having such a hero under her banner would make warriors flock to her side for propaganda value alone. Still, for someone to be that renowned she figured Naruto must have something to him. Several days later Naruto returned from his grisly task and reported to the daimyo alone, "Koyuki-sama, we are done with that place, but I don't know if there are enough priests on this entire continent to lay those souls to rest." He sounded exhausted. "With your permission I'm going to go wash myself." Koyuki's romantic plans for the evening to welcome Naruto back were stopped cold by the dead look in his normally vibrant azure blue eyes, and she felt terribly guilty about having Naruto involved in the mess. She should have forced that coward Isu Shimo to do the job. Naruto was soon taking a hot shower to wash the smell of death off him. They'd made a massive pyre for all the victims of that hellhole, and he was trying not to dwell on it. He was wearing a yukata when he heard a knock at his door. Groaning to himself he cracked open the door and saw it was Sakura. She had a very concerned look on her face and was obviously worried for Naruto. He silently beckoned her in. "This last week was a living nightmare," finished Naruto as he described the cleanup in brief. "It sickens me that mankind is capable of such things." Sakura embraced him in a sisterly hug and said, "Naruto, you shouldn't have ever had that job. It shocks me that the snow ninjas are so incapable." Then she smiled. "Speaking of snow ninjas, Isu Shimo proposed to me." Naruto's eyes grew as large as dinner plates. "What happened, Sakura-chan?" "Well, he came to see me and..." Flashback. Shimo was kneeling with a bouquet of flowers in his hands. "Sakura-hime, I just got back from the snow village and heard you'll be leaving soon. I just know you are the only one for me. Please do me the honor of becoming my loving wife." Sakura sat herself down and quickly to a swig of water. I know this must be a shock to you fair maiden, but believe me when I say true love always finds a way. Sakura said wearily, actually I just threw up a bit in my mouth at the thought of marrying a man twice my age. But age means nothing to two hearts destined to be one, declared Shimo dramatically. How about no? Just no. Said Sakura with a vein on her forehead bulging much like her master Tsunade. Shimo said in a heated voice. Let me prove my love to you tonight, Sakura-hime. Your lips say no, but your eyes say yes. Cracking her knuckles, Sakura said angrily, my fist says no as well, you lecherous scumbag. The last thing Shimo saw was Sakura's knuckles before they plowed into his face, and then he knew no more. Flashback end. So, my week hasn't been heavenly either. Finished Sakura with a grin. Naruto exploded into laughter. It took a few minutes for him to calm back down. I'm so sorry Sakura-chan. Said Naruto as he wiped a tear from his eye. I wish I'd been a fly on the wall when you sent him to Loose Tooth City though. Sakura chuckled, well, at least he finally got the message. Anyway, his dentist should be a very rich person once they are done. Well, it served the dirty old man right. Announced Naruto. He is something like your old man's age, isn't he? Something like that. Replied Sakura, glad to see light back in her teammate's eyes. I've got some good news for you though. Oh? What is it? Asked Naruto. The prisoner we rescued is awake. Said Sakura happily. Her mind seems to be intact and the last 3 days I've spent some time getting to know her. She's a real military type, but she seems to have a kind side. Naruto queried, why was she jailed then? She didn't say much, but apparently she chose to spare an enemy rather than kill him. Explained Sakura. I don't know the details, but it appears that they wanted to make an example of her and sentenced her to die in that place. That weird amulet that you destroyed was supposed to keep her alive for years, no matter how thirsty or hungry she was. It was slowly draining her life force to power that ice jutsu. So, is she an ice wielder? Naruto asked curiously. I'm really not sure. Said the Rosette with a shrug. She's from another continent and is a bit secretive, but I'm sure it must be difficult for her being in a place totally alien to her. She really wants to meet you and thank you for rescuing her though. Maybe after a good night's sleep you can go see her in the morning. She might enjoy your company over breakfast. Naruto nodded. I'll do that. What's her name anyway? Sakura cocked her head to the side. It's foreign. Her name is Esdeath. Thank you for helping me, Sakura-chan. Said Naruto. That's what friends are for, Naruto. I'll see you tomorrow. After they exchanged goodnights, Sakura left Naruto to get a, mercifully, dreamless sleep. Naruto got up bright and early the next morning and went down to the medical ward to meet Esdeath. She was up and was already exercising before breakfast to loosen up her still cramped muscles. Naruto quietly awaited the light blue-haired young woman to get done. She's really pretty in that leotard. I'll bet she'll look even better once her body is back in shape. He thought wistfully. Esdeath realized she was being observed but really didn't mind. Many men, and some women, had looked at her as an object of lust before and she'd always been proud of her body, so she figured they could look all they wanted. Soon enough she finished her morning routine and was irritated that it winded her. She looked over and saw Naruto observing her with a concerned look on his face. She said, so you're Uzumaki Naruto. Do you like what you see? I was more concerned that you are favoring your right side. Said Naruto in a genuine tone. Do you want me to check those ribs? Esdeath blushed slightly. He was worried for me. Well, I guess you can, but I don't know what you can do. Naruto stood up and thought back to the massage techniques he'd learned under Jiraiya's tutelage. Just lay down on your stomach and I'll try to loosen up those muscles. I know a couple of relaxation techniques. Shrugging, Esdeath laid down and figured maybe it would help. She was sore. After that she could thank him properly for helping her. A half hour later Sakura walked in and saw Esdeath moaning appreciatively as Naruto used some very effective massage jutsu on her. If Tsunade hadn't taught Sakura the same techniques, she wouldn't have known what the hell was going on. She wondered if Naruto even knew he was using a high-level seduction technique on the smiling blue-haired woman. More to the left, Naruto murmured Esdeath in a deep sultry tone, sounding like she was melting into goo. Alright Esdeath-san. Answered Naruto, totally oblivious to the fact Esdeath was in ecstasy from his ministrations. Sakura blushed madly and then thought. Doesn't Naruto realize she's already 2/3 of the way to an orgasm? With as potent as his chakra is, she's probably further along than that. Oh, hell. No, knowing Naruto doesn't have a clue. Esdeath moaned erotically and Sakura decided to intervene before, well, something happened. Good morning. Said Sakura in an exaggerated sounding chipper voice. Naruto stopped much to Esdeath's displeasure and said, good morning, Sakura-chan. I was just helping Esdeath-san with a little hit she had in her right side. I see. Said Sakura with a twitch in her eyebrow. I'm sure you must feel a bit better now, Esdeath-san. Naruto has magic hands. purred Esdeath with bedroom eyes. Sakura nodded with a fake smile on her face. Naruto really doesn't know. I'll have to explain it in private later. I'm sure. Naruto, why don't we let Esdeath-san get properly dressed and then the three of us can get some breakfast? Good idea Sakura-chan. Said Naruto agreeably. Are your ribs feeling a little better Esdeath-san? Perhaps we can continue later. I still feel a little catch in my right side. Said Esdeath rather sultrily. Liar. Thought Sakura. You just want Naruto all over you. Well, be that as it may, let's step out so Esdeath can get dressed. Breakfast was certainly going to be awkward. Chapter 2. Frost Country, the capital of Shimo. Two of the most powerful and experienced members of Night Raid, Akame of the Demon Sword Murasame, age 16, and Leon the wielder of the Tigu Lionel, age 23, were on a mission to stake out the palace of the daimyo of Frost Country. They needed to deal with him and free a political prisoner that might become a future member of the Revolutionary Army, or perhaps even a member of Night Raid itself, or that was the plan. The two were sitting quietly in an outdoor tea house that had a nice view of the castle. The cat-like blonde Leon said quietly to her younger partner. Akame, the country may look tranquil, but you know as well as I do this is damn suspicious. The daimyo of Frost Country has forbidden anyone from even saying his name and people here, fearful to even broach the subject. They may not have public executions here, but you know torture pens and prisons are inside that castle. Isn't that evidence enough that he's our man? Akame shook her head making her long black hair sway back and forth slightly. I'm not so sure an infiltration is a good idea at this point. We've got the basic layout but of the place, and security seems awfully lax for some sort of dictator. This daimyo may not be the correct target. Looks can be deceiving. Hissed the busty blonde. You know when I was gathering information about the guy's name in the bars, those guys said they'd literally lose their tiny balls if they even said his name. On top of that his older brother who was heir to the throne, died of a mysterious illness. His name's been erased from the records too. I smell treachery a mile off here. Akame's red eyes narrowed and she gave a withering stare to her partner. You also said they were stone drunk and that you were semi-wasted yourself. We can't afford to make an error. We're not even on our home continent you know. It isn't like we have backup to break us out if we are captured. Leon just scoffed. Flashback. A month ago on the continent of the Empire. A meeting was going on between Night Raid's commander Najenda and two of her best operatives. Najenda explained, your mission is to go to this elemental continent and retrieve former Imperial General Esdeath from one of the Prime Minister's business partners named Kazuhana Dam. Once you've freed her you will ask her to join us against the Empire. The silver-haired, eye-patch-wearing woman said it as if she was talking about the weather. The looks on Leon and Akame's faces made her frown a bit and she exhaled some smoke from her cigarette. Is there an issue? Leon's golden eyes were big as saucers. The buxom blonde declared to her leader, hell yes there's an issue. This is Esdeath we're talking about here. She was the one responsible for so many deaths like Tatsumi's. She's an evil sadist. That ice queen can rot in hell for all I care. You know the Prime Minister's forces killed Tatsumi because Esdeath wouldn't do it. Said Najenda with sadness reflecting in her remaining purple eye. When I was with the Empire she was a fellow general. I know her abilities. I lost my eye and arm to her. You can't deny she would be a very powerful asset to the Revolutionary Army. How do we even know she's still alive? Asked Akame. Her red eyes seemed to flash angrily. The black-haired assassin was also greatly affected by her good friend Tatsumi's death. Najenda nodded. That's a good question. Prime Minister Honest ordered the Amulet of Souls to be placed on her. It takes 5 years to drain a person's life force away and can't be removed until the person dies or its key is used. Najenda placed an ornate golden key in front of them. We just happen to have that key. Leon looked at the key warily. Is there any other way to remove it? Najenda blew another puff of smoke out. Outside of death. Well, the Amulet of Souls could theoretically be overloaded if you had life force on par with I don't know. Some kind of deity. That's highly unlikely. Said Akame. Are there other copies of this key? No. That key and the Amulet of Souls were created back when the Tigu themselves were created 1,000 years ago. Said the commander. There's no way anyone could have copied that key. What if that amulet of whatever leaves the ice bitch crippled? What's it been, 2 years already? Asked Leon. Najenda sighed. Look, I know you hate her, but this is Esdeath we're talking about here. As long as she has the slightest spark of life in her she won't be broken. Trust me. Akame picked up the key and asked in a steely voice, what if she refuses to join the Revolutionary Army? Najenda extinguished her cigarette in the ashtray. Then you cut her down without mercy or hesitation. She said with a tone of finality. Akame nodded and Leon smiled fierily. Perhaps there's a chance for a happy ending after all. Said the busty blonde with vengeance in her voice. When do we leave? You'll be leaving in 3 days from the east coast and will land in a port in Fire Country on the elemental continent," said Najenda. "The daimyo of the country you need to find is Kazuhana Dam. We know he murdered his own brother to take the throne, so I guess he's notorious or something. The place is called Ice Country or something similar. Our intelligence is really sketchy since it's all second and third hand information, so you may have to search for a while. Don't you worry. Akame and her one each and Leon will take care of everything," said Leon cheerfully. Agenda said, "On that note, Akame is in charge so no accidents happen." Leon face faulted. "Akame, make sure Leon doesn't get into too much trouble, but remember she is excellent at gathering intelligence. More importantly, remember that Esdeath would be a great help to our cause." Akame nodded and dragged the still prone and pouting Leon out of the room. Flashback end. Frost Country, Daimyo's Palace. Team Kurenai comprised of Haika Hinata, Aburam Shino, Inyazuka Kiba and Akamaru had just escorted the diminutive daimyo of Frost Country back from the Land of Fire. The man had a complex about his short stature, but given he stood at 122 centimeters, the ninjas really didn't hold it against him. Even Hinata towered over the man. He also insisted they only address him by his title and not his name. Actually, they didn't even know the man's real name. The 3 Chunins took it in stride though and simply addressed him as Daimyo-sama. The 3 ninjas and 1 ninkin chased off 2 groups of bandits from the daimyo's caravan however, so the short man was grateful and invited the 3 of them to dine with him and his wife this evening before they departed for Fire Country again in the morning. Initially Kiba was going to refuse because the daimyo's staff wouldn't allow Akamaru into the more luxurious dining areas of the castle to eat with them, but Hinata managed to pacify Kiba enough for him to behave. Team Kurenai had completed their mission successfully and the last thing they needed was to make a social faux pas with a foreign daimyo. It just wasn't a good business practice. The 3 ninjas and ninkin were sitting together over tea in a luxurious guest lounge that had a bedroom for each of them attached. Hinata was sipping her tea politely and said, "I don't know Shino-kun. My instincts are telling me something is amiss also. I don't think Kiba-kun and Akamaru are being paranoid." "See? Hinata-chan agrees with us, Shino," stated Kiba proudly. Shino nodded, "We would be better off alert and vigilant if trouble does occur. It wouldn't do to be caught off guard." A Kikage beetle alighted on Shino's fingertip as he held it up for the insect to land. "My allies tell me there is no hostile intent within this palace, but there still may be some from outside. We will remain on guard then." "I wonder how Naruto-kun is doing," thought Hinata. "He left on his first mission with his new arm just before we did over a week ago. I hope he is alright." Snow Country, Kazuhana Castle. Naruto was sitting and talking to Esdeath over a healthy lunch. "So you're the last of the Partas clan and grew up as a hunter in a frozen frontier area. Sounds like you had a rough time in your childhood," said Naruto. "Have no doubt it made me strong," said Esdeath in an iron tone. "The black cross I wear is the proud symbol of the Partas clan. When I was a child my father taught me everything to become a fearsome hunter and how to hunt the most formidable of danger beasts. When I found my clan was wiped out I swore to become the strongest there was and to never be defeated. He taught me that the strong live and the weak die and I've branded that on my heart and soul." "Do you have someone or something precious to protect?" asked Naruto kindly. Esdeath's face became melancholy as she thought of Tatsumi. I did. But not anymore." "Why do you ask?" "I was taught that to become truly strong you have to have something to protect," said Naruto. "Everything I've ever done since I became a ninja was to protect my precious people. You need to find new precious ones and I promise you'll be stronger than ever before," the blonde ninja said with conviction. Esdeath felt herself beginning to blush. He says it with such passion. I wonder how strong he truly is. He reminds me of Tatsumi with the fire he has in his eyes. I need to get to know him better. "So you have a Tigu of your own?" she asked curiously. "I saw how you glowed with flame when you found me and destroyed the Amulet of Souls. Your Tigu must be truly impressive to do that." Naruto stared at her dumbly and got a vacant smile. What's a Tigu? I've never heard of such a thing." She blushed again at his clueless look. Esdeath found it adorable. "Maybe they call them something other than Tigu here. It's an item of power that allows you to do things others can't. Mine is called the Demon's Extract and it gives me absolute control over ice. Yours must allow you to control fire in a way. So many Tigus were lost so long ago that it makes sense that they could have been brought to this continent." The blonde ninja shrugged and said, "You just saw me manipulating my chakra, Esdeath-san. All ninjas can do that to some extent." "What's chakra?" asked Esdeath. "Chakra is the combination of your spiritual and physical energies that we ninjas use to do techniques or jutsus," said Naruto. "Sakura-chan and I just assumed you were using some kind of ice jutsu. I can sense you have a ton of chakra." Flashback. Esdeath was sitting in a classroom during her officer's training in the Empire. The old history professor bored her to death unless he was talking tactics or battles, but today he was describing a tribe of people called ninjas that the Tigu were designed to combat. She found it quite fascinating. It also seemed to be a pet subject of the professor. While it's a little discussed and esoteric subject, these people known as the ninjas could actually harness their life force energies directly for various abilities, such as attacking with fire, water, lightning or other elements. Some even had the power to heal their wounds or cast illusions to take enemies by surprise. They were few in number, but the empire suffered incredible losses at their hands before the ninjas were finally wiped out. The original intent of the first emperor with the Tigu was to create weapons that would forever protect the empire, but the fact is he wanted his greatest soldiers to be able to stand on even grounds with those such as the ninjas. In the end it was considered successful, but the true abilities of the ninjas were never fully duplicated and little is left of the history of our battles with them other than the massive losses to our side. Flashback end. Esdeath's eyes widened with realization. Ninjas can do things naturally with their bodies that it would take a Tigu to do for my people. The possibilities are endless. Esdeath-san? Asked Naruto. The light blue-haired woman's eyes suddenly snapped back into awareness as Naruto spoke. Are you alright? You completely spaced out on me there. Are you feeling okay? Why yes, I'm fine Naruto-san. She answered. Please just call me Esdeath. You don't have to be formal with me. Naruto gave her a big smile that made her heart flutter. Then please just call me Naruto. About that time Sakura arrived and joined the two of them for lunch at their table. Koyuki-sama says they found some records of that prison being built by an outside source while Kazuhana ruled this country. It was supposed to be inescapable. There's also evidence that the airship technology came from that same source around the same time. She said a messenger from the Snow Ninja village has more information for us. Maybe we can confirm the technology came from the empire that Esdeath-san came from. The three were discussing things like Esdeath's recovery and the general explained Tigu to Sakura as well. So in a nutshell your people have chakra but can't truly access it without one of these Tigu items. How interesting. Said Sakura. About that time the three of them sensed a subtle killing intent as a snow village ninja arrived. He asked Naruto, are you Uzumaki Naruto-sama? Naruto nodded. Yes, that's me, but you don't have to call me Sama or anything. Just Naruto is fine. Ah, I'm Hisam, a jonin from the snow village. Said the man. I have the information for you that Koyuki-sama requested about that awful prison you found. Here it is. He said holding out a scroll. Hisam then shot his right hand forward faster than the eye could follow. Esdeath's blue eyes widened as a hidden blade from the man's wrist emerged and headed right towards Naruto's face. Had Esdeath been in top form she would have been able to intercept it easily, but she was too slow in her weakened state. Sakura didn't seem to react and Esdeath was about to call out to Naruto when the blade suddenly stopped about a centimeter from Naruto's eye. Naruto had Hisam's wrist in an iron grip with his right hand and the snow ninja cried out as his wrist was crushed and the hidden blade clattered to the table. Naruto gradually bent the whimpering nin's broken wrist backwards and brought the agonized snow ninja down to his knees through sheer physical strength. Naruto hadn't even moved from his position in his chair as he watched Sakura quietly pick up the fallen blade by its handle and began to examine it. He then turned back to Hisam and squeezed the man's wrist harder, making the snow ninja writhe in pain. Did you seriously think that would work Hisam-san? Asked Naruto coldly. The man whimpered again. Tell me who sent you, commanded Naruto in a chilling tone. Esdeath was both relieved Naruto was unharmed and thrilled at Naruto's power. She suddenly realized that Sakura hadn't reacted because she didn't need to. The light blue-haired woman's eyes sparkled with vengeance. Naruto was general class and power. She was eager to see how Naruto dealt with this weakling that was foolish enough to attack him. Esdeath could feel Naruto's refined killing intent wash over her and she shivered excitedly. She knew the tiny fraction she was feeling was nothing compared to what slammed into Hisam. The snow ninja looked as if he'd been hit with a physical blow from the wall of Naruto's overwhelming killing intent. Hisam said, I did it for Sama. He sent me. I worked alone. Naruto sighed and shook his head. You're lying and it's obvious. I killed 4 years ago when I was just a kid. I know there were several former snow ninjas that worked for him that later swore allegiance to Koyuki-sama. Tell me who all is involved or it will get painful Hisam. Hisam's eyes widened in fear. He said and never. Naruto channeled lightning chakra though his left hand causing electricity to arc between his fingers. The smell of ozone permeated the air as Hisam shook uncontrollably in terror. Naruto said. If you want to do it the hard way then we will Hisam-san. Hisam screamed and his body was racked with spasms as Naruto shocked a nerve cluster in the man's injured arm. It took nearly 45 minutes, but Hisam spilled every last name he knew and everything they'd done. Esdeath relished in seeing the snow ninja so broken and Koyuki-sama's guard simply kept a respectful distance. Sakura was quietly taking down notes as Hisam confessed to everything. Hisam croaked out weakly, "I swear to the gods that's all I know, please. Please no more." The man had resisted until some of his hair was smoking from the electric shocks. While Esdeath was enjoying this show immensely, it was obvious by their stony expressions that Naruto and Sakura took no pleasure in this interrogation at all. Seeing the traitorous ninja was done, Sakura stood up and said from behind Hisam, "You are a threat to Koyuki-sama and that we cannot allow." She then effortlessly snapped his neck, ending the would-be assassin's life in an instant. Esdeath was disappointed they didn't torture the man some more and asked, "He had plenty of life left in him. Why did you stop torturing him?" Naruto turned to Esdeath and said in a matter-of-fact tone. "There was no point wasting time. It wasn't practical. He already told us everything he knew. We learned the hard way during the war not to waste a second." Sakura simply nodded in agreement. The light blue-haired woman's eyes sparked in understanding. "So, they are completely pragmatic about it and take few prisoners. While it isn't as enjoyable, it is logical. There's no doubt about that. If a person has no use, they are just quickly eliminated." Esdeath found herself admiring the no-nonsense attitude of the ninjas. It might not be as fun, but there was no arguing with the results. Sakura said to Koyuki-sama's guards. "We must see Koyuki-sama immediately. There are traitors within her ranks." Frost Country, Daimyo's palace. It was early evening, and Team Kurenai was having an extremely sumptuous meal with the daimyo and his very beautiful and very tall wife. Her name was Miria and she was close to 180 centimeters tall. She was also much younger than him. "So, we were actually at the final battle of the Fourth Shinobi War," explained Shino. "However, we were caught in a jin just as everyone else was and Team 7 was actually responsible for defeating Kagaya. We never actually saw her." "So, you've actually met Uzumaki Naruto-sama who saved the world?" asked Miria in an excited tone. Kiba laughed. "Met him? Miria-sama, all three of us were in the same academy class with him. We practically grew up together." "Yes, we've known Naruto-kun since we were children," said Hinata. "I actually met him before I was in the academy and he saved me from some bullies. He was very brave even when he was a little boy," she added with a smile and a light pink dusting of her cheeks. Kiba would ordinarily have teased his female teammate about her long-standing crush on Naruto, but even he knew that wouldn't be too proper in front of a daimyo and his wife. Generally, Team Kurenai had a nice time and kept Miria-sama entertained, so the daimyo seemed pleased. Later that night. The moon was high in the dark sky as two figures stealthily entered the Frost Country Palace through an upper-floor window. Akame's red eyes reflected slightly in the darkness as she looked from side to side. Leon landed quietly behind her with her Tigu activated, giving her a more cat-like appearance with claws, cat ears and a tail. The pair quietly avoided the guards and headed towards the throne room where they found the daimyo, his wife Miria, and the members of Team Kurenai. "I was wondering when you two would arrive," said Shino in his usual monotone. Akame narrowed her eyes and drew Murasame, but Leon was genuinely taken off guard. She did notice the forehead protectors that Hinata, Shino and Kiba had though. She also noticed the massive form of Akamaru near his partner. Covering her initial shock, Leon said, "You're Konoha ninjas. We have no business with you. We only want to talk with the daimyo." Shino replied, "I'm afraid your motives seem less than benign towards our client. If you just came to talk then you wouldn't sneak in after dark. Identify yourselves." Hinata activated her Byakugan. The blonde one has some sort of belt that conducts chakra and the black-haired one's katana is a chakra blade. "Be careful." "What the hell?" thought Leon. "She has a Tigu that lets her see other Tigu." Leon quickly decided Hinata had to go first. Using her enhanced speed and reflexes, Leon shot towards the Haika heiress at blinding speed, only to be shoulder tackled by Kiba, which sent them both tumbling with Akamaru trailing after. Akame silently attacked Shino who barely blocked the Murasame with crossed kunai. Kicking Shino back to stun him, Akame switched to her real target, Hinata. The black-haired assassin had also decided that Hinata was the primary threat because she thought the indigo-haired girl also possessed a Tigu. Akame slashed at Hinata and found the young Haika woman was quite fast and agile. Using the Murasame she was forcing Hinata back, although Akame hadn't landed a hit either with her blade or Taijutsu. Akame's instincts kicked in as Hinata yelled, "Kaiten!" and spun. An expanding dome of chakra blew Akame back. Had Akame's reflexes not been so fast she would have been seriously hurt, but the young assassin was still sent flying. Akame landed across the room with cat-like grace as Leon took a clawed swipe at Hinata, having temporarily escaped Kiba and Akamaru's attacks. Hinata ducked under the brutal swipe from Leon and landed two solid Jukin hits each to the blonde woman's right forearm and shoulder. Leon went crashing to the ground, having unexpectedly lost all use of her right arm. She growled angrily, "What did you do to me, you little bitch?" She tried to get up, but Kiba had already pounced on her back and had a kunai at her throat. The dog ninja said, nobody moves. Akame and Shino backed away from each other, with both still in a defensive stance, and Kiba said to Leon, why are you after the daimyo? Leon had completely lost her cool and blurted out, he's Kazuhana Daim. He killed his own brother and took over. He's holding a political prisoner we want released. He's so worried about people finding out what he has done that he even forbade people from speaking his very name. If Akame hadn't been so intent on watching Shino in case he attacked, she would have face-faulted on the spot. Leon just blew everything wide open. Hinata said, Daimyo-sama isn't Kazuhana Daim, he. Miria blurted, my sweetie pie is named Kintama Ch+Ana and he's embarrassed about his name. He didn't kill his brother either. When reality hit her, Leon suddenly said, the daimyo's name is Kintama Ch+Ana, which means tiny balls. Leon exploded into laughter. Bwahahaha. Oh. My. God. No wonder you kept your name a secret. Bwahahaha. Akame was ready to take her own life in embarrassment as Leon continued to howl in laughter, and soon Kiba and Akamaru joined in with her by laughing raucously. Shino said in a monotone to Akame, do you mean to tell me you broke into the wrong palace after the wrong daimyo in the wrong country? Akame's sweat dropped. That appears to be the case. The daimyo was red in the face from embarrassment over his name being mentioned for obvious reasons. I didn't kill my older brother Kintama Kaidai, gigantic balls, either. He died of a venereal disease like the big dumb oaf he was. My father hated that I was so short, so he named me Tiny. It's so humiliating. Seeing Leon and Kiba weren't even slowing down with their hysterics. They both had tears in their eyes from laughing so hard by now, Hinata gave both of them a chop to the neck to knock them unconscious. Seeing the two were silenced and that Akamaru had wisely shut up after seeing this, Hinata bowed deeply to the daimyo and said, ahem. Please forgive my teammates' impropriety, daimyo-sama. She then turned to Akame and said, Kazuhana Daim died 4 years ago in Snow Country. The throne was rightfully returned to his niece Kazuhana Koyuki-sama, who is a just and kind ruler. If she hasn't already released this political prisoner you are attempting to retrieve, I have little doubt you could negotiate this person's freedom. There would certainly be no need for violence in Snow Country. Akame just sheathed the Murasame and said, forgive me, daimyo-sama. I could truly die of embarrassment right now. Snow Country, Kazuhana Castle. Esdeath was back in the medical ward getting ready for bed. She'd been disappointed that she couldn't see Naruto and Sakura go to the snow village and slaughter the traitors and their families. Nevertheless, Esdeath was in no position to argue. She was in no physical condition to fight, though she was doing much better. Odds are she would have been a hindrance in a military operation in this situation, though she was loath to admit it. She hoped that Naruto would return later this evening to tell her about the bloodshed as he gave her one of those wonderful massages. Yes, she was very eager to feel Naruto's magical hands again. It was hours later that Naruto and Sakura got back from the snow village with a contingent of royal guards with them. There were 17 traitors and they'd only taken 3 alive. Apparently, the former followers of Kazuhana Daim were zealots and wanted Naruto, Sakura and the rest of the former Team 7 dead at all costs to avenge him. It was arguable that they were actually loyal to Koyuki-sama as they'd sworn to serve the Kazuhana family, but apparently vengeance took precedence. Despite direct orders from Koyuki-sama to surrender, they fought to the bitter end. It had been quite bloody, but luckily there were no other casualties in the snow village. Naruto and Sakura's power was simply too much for the traitors to handle. The 2 tired Konoha ninjas returned after dark with the royal guards and the 3 badly mangled prisoners in tow. One of the prisoners might not survive his injuries. This mission has turned into a senseless mess, Sakura-chan, said Naruto in a tired tone. The 2 war veterans had certainly seen worse, but they couldn't help but feel these traitorous snow ninjas' lives were thrown away pointlessly. Sakura nodded. I know, Naruto. They could have surrendered peacefully and probably would have received a minor punishment once they swore off vengeance against us. Instead, they gave their lives for a worthless cause and a long-dead tyrant. It's just sad. Those 3 we captured will probably never fully recover from their injuries, either assuming they all live. They'll never be able to be ninjas again even if they get out of jail. After everything we sacrificed for peace, it still never ends, said Naruto sadly. The 2 ninjas retired for the night and planned to report to the daimyo in the morning. Aside of the fact they were mentally exhausted, Koyuki-sama had already gone to bed for the night, so there was no need to wake her up. Frost Country, Daimyo's palace. Leon woke up in the morning with a sore neck, right shoulder and forearm from where Hinata had hit her. She was laying on a cot and saw Akame was sitting beside her watching over her. Blinking her gold eyes a few times, Leon yawned and said, where are we, Akame? Akame simply said, we are very fortunate and we are in a barracks under guard. Daimyo-sama has ordered us to be removed from Frost Country and never to return. We are going to Fire Country with those 3 ninjas we fought escorting us. They currently have our Tigu in their possession and will return them once we are outside Frost Country. If it wasn't for those ninjas offering to help escort us out, I fear you would have been put to death for embarrassing the daimyo so much." Leon retorted, "What about that ninja that was laughing with me? He should be in trouble too." "He is," said the red-eyed girl. "The reason the ninjas offered to escort us out of the country for free was because of the one named Kiba that was laughing hysterically with you. He's been banned from the country too. I think it's fair to say that the daimyo is angrier at you and the ninja Kiba than me, and I was trying to assassinate him in error." "Wow. Tiny sure is touchy," said Leon. "Don't mention that name again or I will hit you." Hista came. The ninja's quarters. Hinata was explaining the whole situation to the now awake Kiba. "I believe it is safe to say you made a very bad impression on Daimyo-sama, Kiba-kun," said Hinata gently. Shino wasn't so kind. "What Hinata means to say is you're a complete idiot and you should thank her for knocking you out, Kiba-baka. Kurenai-sensei would say the same." Kiba groaned and said, "So we're escorting those two lost assassins out of Frost Country and we have their chakra gear?" "Yes," said Hinata. "They seem to have not been trained to use their chakra coils directly and they use these chakra items to access their chakra. It's a different but innovative alternative." Shino explained, "They are rather secretive, but Akame the sword wielder informed us they are from another continent and obviously they are behind the times on information, given the fact Kazuhana Daten has been dead for 4 years. They were told to look for Ice Country and because Snow Country is often referred to as Spring Country now. Frost Country was a logical place to search." "So the dark-haired girl is Akame?" asked Kiba. "What about the blonde?" "Her name is Leon," answered Hinata. "They both are impressive fighters, especially Akame. She told us her sword exudes an incurable poison so we shouldn't touch the blade in any way." "What about the belt you saw?" asked Kiba. "It gives Leon cat-like features," answered Shino. "It seems to have much the same effect as the Inyazuka clan's all-fours jutsu that you are so fond of." Kiba shrugged. "Huh. Who'd have ever thought of something like that jutsu being built into a belt? That's pretty cool." "Indeed," replied Shino. "Snow Country, Kazuhana Castle." Esdeath's eyes nearly rolled back in her head as her orgasm hit her like a speeding train. "Oh, gods yes. Naruto-kun," she moaned. Naruto's hijutsu massage techniques had taken her far further than she ever thought possible as he gave her a back rub because she claimed her back was stiff after her morning exercise. Now she was breathing heavily and silently praising whatever deity that had blessed Naruto with those wonderful, wonderful hands. "Are you alright, Esdeath? You kind of cried out there," said Naruto in a worried tone. "He has no idea what he does to me," thought Esdeath in a state of euphoria. The light blue-haired woman looked over her shoulder with lustful eyes and purred in the afterglow. "I'm just fine, Naruto-kun." Her thoughts were racing of other things the two of them could do as she admired his body. That was when she suddenly realized her panties were soaked clean though to the sheets. Her eyes widened a bit as she blushed hotly and she said embarrassed, I think I need to get dressed now, Naruto-kun. Could you pull the curtain closed so I can get my clothes on?" Relieved Esdeath was alright, Naruto nodded and stepped out before he closed the curtain behind him. He'd spent the early morning talking with Sakura and Koyuki-sama about the mess in the snow village. It looked like they were going to be in Snow Country a little while longer and Sakura had gone to the aviary to send a report out to Tsunade while Naruto checked up on Esdeath. "Well, at least Esdeath seems to be in a good mood now," thought Naruto idly to himself. "She seemed a bit grumpy that I wasn't telling her about the battle, but maybe it was just her sore back, since when has she called me Naruto-kun, now that I think about it, the poor oblivious idiot." Sakura never had gotten a chance to have that talk with him. Frost Country, Daimyo's palace. Hinata, Shino and Akamaru bid farewell to the daimyo and his wife Miria-sama and escorted Akame, Leon and Kiba out of the Frost Country capital of Shimo and headed in the direction of Fire Country. By midday they were in Hot Springs Country and the ninjas returned the Tigu to Akame and Leon as promised. In general, Akame had great respect for the ninjas, especially Hinata who faced her with the Murasame unarmed and considered them trustworthy. Leon thought Shino and Hinata needed to loosen up a bit and seemed to enjoy arguing with Kiba. Shino explained that once they got back to Konoha that perhaps they could contact Snow Country through diplomatic channels instead of endangering Koyuki-sama's life. Akame he semi-trusted, but Leon was too much of a wild card. She kind of reminded him of a female Naruto in a way. It would be about a week's trip back to Konoha at a decent speed and Shino had already sent a report ahead to Tsunade-sama about the two Tigu users. He wondered what the Hokage's reaction would be to Team Kurenai bring home a couple of strays, hopefully it wouldn't be too negative. Chapter 3. Snow Country, Kazuhana Castle. Koyuki Haim was discussing things with Sakura over lunch in her private chambers. "It surprises me that you didn't ask Naruto to lunch with us as well, Koyuki-sama," said Sakura pleasantly. "Well, it's a matter I felt was best kept between us women, you know." explained Koyuki. Sakura looked a bit surprised. "Oh, I assumed you wanted to discuss the construction of that prison and the airship technology," said the Rosette. "I sure hope this isn't about me punching out that idiot Snow Village Jonin Isushaimo. It wasn't the most diplomatic move I've made in my ninja career," she thought nervously. The daimyo shook her head. No. This has nothing to do with that prison. I have my people searching for records on that, but a lot of the records in Doton's old compound in the Snow Village were destroyed when you and your team redecorated the place during your rescue of me 4 years ago. It will probably be months before we can reconstruct if Doton was dealing with this empire from another continent. Once we get some hard facts, I fully intend to inform Konoha, as it would be of importance to all of the elemental nations really. The last thing we need is a hostile foreign power threatening us from across the ocean. We just got done with our own war here after all." "I see. What would you like to discuss then?" asked Sakura, slightly relieved. Koyuki leaned forward and said, "It's about a certain type of mission that I believe only Konoha could achieve for me. Given its highly clandestine nature, I have a few questions I'd like to ask." Sakura raised a delicate eyebrow. "Well, normally Hokage-sama alone discusses missions if the nature is highly clandestine. I'm really in no position to negotiate such things. I'm only Chunin rank after all." Nodding her head slightly, Koyuki asked, "You Konoha ninjas are trained in long-term infiltration missions, yes?" The Rosette was quickly thinking classified. For Hokage's eyes only. In her head as she said, "We have some specialists experienced in that area, but the nature of the infiltration is a huge factor as to whether we would accept such a mission." "Well, the nature of the mission would be to seduce a foreign daimyo and stay in that daimyo's court for an extended period of time," said Koyuki. "This is definitely for the Hokage's ears only," thought Sakura, panicking. "Well, I'm in no position to discuss such a high-profile mission. The political ramifications would be a huge factor in. The target would be me," said Koyuki. Sakura's brain came to a screeching halt. What? Koyuki smiled and said, "I wish for Uzumaki Naruto-kun to infiltrate Snow Country, seduce me and give me 2 or more heirs, preferably a boy and a girl. It would be a long-term mission, of course." Sakura's jaw hit the table and her eyes bulged. "Why you want Naruto to too?" "I've been trying to get Naruto-kun's attention, but I think he's acting totally oblivious because he's grown into such a fine and professional ninja." Koyuki blushed and giggled. "What a man he's become," she added dreamily. "No, he really is a totally oblivious blockhead," screamed inner Sakura in her mind. I don't know what to say, Daimyo-sama, I've got to change subjects fast." Koyuki was still blushing slightly and she said, "Well, I'm sure he'd be more than capable of doing the job. I'm sure you've slept with him on several occasions. How good is he? How much do you think it would cost? Not that money is really an issue." Sakura's face was flaming hot with embarrassment. "I'm his teammate, not his lover or his flesh peddler." "Oh. My. Fucking. God." She screeched as she slapped her hands onto her glowing red cheeks. The normally straight-laced and proper Rosette's composure had flown completely out the window and was probably halfway back to Fire Country by now. "DD Daimyo-sama, I cannot discuss this subject any further," said the hyperventilating girl. At first she was shocked at Sakura's outburst, but then Koyuki burst into an amused fit of laughter. "Sakura-chan, I didn't mean to embarrass you so much," she said between giggles. "Are you sure you haven't been sleeping with him? I mean, such a hunk of man. He's like a brother to me," declared the still embarrassed Sakura. "We aren't that way at all." Koyuki smiled widely. "Well, sorry about that. Since he calls you Sakura-chan, I misunderstood the situation." Seeing the younger woman was calming down, Koyuki said, "I'll just ask the Hokage in a letter. Let's talk about something else." "Oh, thank the gods," thought Sakura in relief. She was still perspiring heavily, but now she could cool down. "Since you aren't with Naruto-kun, I presume you're interested in your other teammate Uchiha Sasuke?" Koyuki asked innocently. Sakura felt her face explode into another blush and felt like fainting. "I'm in hell," thought the Rosette forlornly. Hot Springs Country, the capital city of U. In the afternoon, Hinata, Shino and Kiba bowed respectfully as they presented their papers to enter the capital of Hot Springs Country. The guards there inspected the papers and then welcomed the Konoha group into U. Since it was a time of peace not seen in literal centuries, there was a great feeling of camaraderie between Hot Springs Country and their largest neighbor, Fire Country. Team Kurenai was welcomed with great respect as veterans of the Fourth Shinobi War. That's when a deep roaring emerged and set everyone on edge. Leon laughed. "Sounds like your tummy is rumbling again, Akame. You must be starving. What's it been, 3 hours since breakfast?" Everyone's sweat dropped as they realized the deep growling was indeed coming from the petite black-haired girl's stomach. Kiba remembered Naruto and Choji's appetites and figured they should feed the poor assassin. "So, what kind of food do you like, Akame-san?" asked the dog-loving ninja over the growling noise. Became less than daintily said, meat. Lots of meat. Guard-san. Is there any place you might recommend? Hinata asked one of the guards in a friendly tone of voice. The guard looked over at the red-eyed girl with a slight bit of fear in his eyes before he turned back to Hinata and said, Kinoichi-san, there's a large barbecue restaurant 1 block down on the left. Just go straight ahead and you can't miss it. Thank you, guard-san. Said Shino. His insect swarms were getting very nervous at the ominous rumbling of Akame's stomach. Let us go to the barbecue place in question post-haste then. Soon they were all seated at Swing Another's barbecue restaurant and Akame was well on her way to massacring an entire second beef brisket while the others were eating at a more sedate, red, human pace. It seems that Akame-san likes meat like Naruto-kun likes ramen. Thought Hinata. Shino thought to himself, perhaps she's an Akamichi cousin. She might be Choji's dream girl. Tiba was frightened. We'd best keep this one fed or Akamaru and I might end up on the menu. Akamaru was having similar thoughts as he hid shivering behind Kiba while he ate from a dish in the floor. Leon was greatly amused at Kiba's obvious fear but wondered about the other two. I wonder if they know somebody else that eats like Akame does when she's this ravenous. It's kind of hard to believe though. Most people just gape in awe at the sheer amount of food Akame can put away. After eating her fill, Leon naturally tried to dine and dash but was quickly dragged back to the table by the others to pay her part of the bill. She hadn't eaten much but she had plenty of booze. Leon was soon pleading with Akame. Come on Akame-chan. Help your One-E-chan out. You know getting a good buzz is expensive. To which Akame simply said, no. Without the slightest bit of pity or remorse. Crying in tears Leon coughed up her part of the bill while murmuring that Akame-chan doesn't love me anymore. Leon didn't get much sympathy from the members of Team Kurenai either. Snow Country, capital city. Esdeath was sitting with Naruto at a restaurant having an early dinner in the capital city of Snow Country. She was wearing her slightly loose general's uniform that would fit properly again once she got her muscle tone back. It was her first time outside of the castle and Sakura felt it would be good exercise for Esdeath to get out and move around a bit. Her body simply wasn't ready for the strenuous workouts necessary to bring her back up to combat strength. Though the former Imperial General hated to admit it, she knew Sakura was right and general exercise of just getting used to moving around again was best. Even her rapier felt heavy to her right now. 2 years of sitting in a cell had done a number on Esdeath's body and Sakura said it was a miracle that the former general was recovering as quickly as she was. As they sat eating quietly, the light blue-haired young woman couldn't help but marvel a bit at the peaceful atmosphere surrounding her and Naruto in the city. Things were clean and well kept and the people seemed to be genuinely happy as they went about their business. It was like peering into another world for Esdeath. She was used to the filth, corruption, and poverty of the empire. The idea that people could travel around freely and not feel threatened amazed her. In the rotted core of the empire, you carried weapons regardless of who you were and there were always imperial soldiers prowling around. The soldiers were just as likely as the criminals to be causing trouble and harming innocent people though. How did I not see this when I served the emperor? The image of that bloated cesspool of a man, Prime Minister Honest, came to her mind and she subconsciously clenched her fist in anger. There will be a reckoning for you old bastard. She thought darkly. The image of him burning in the center of the decaying empire's rotting core drifted through her mind. I will see it happen. It may take years, but the empire will burn by my hands. She looked up and saw Naruto's azure blue eyes looking at her with concern. Is something wrong, Esdeath-chan? He asked in a worried tone. You look upset. Is it the food? Esdeath felt her body relax as she looked at Naruto. It had taken all morning, but she convinced him to call her Chan, which made her very happy. She smiled softly. It's nothing, Naruto-kun. I was just thinking about the past and unpleasant things came to mind. Anyway, the food here is very good. She looked around and said, this country, it's very welcoming, isn't it? It seems many people here consider you a hero of some sort. What exactly happened here? Naruto scratched his neck and said, this was a terrible place to live when Kazuhana ruled this country. He was a cruel man that ruled everything with an iron fist. Esdeath nodded in interest. Anyway, I was part of the team that deposed him and restored the daimyo's position to Kazuhana Koyuki-sama, who is the proper ruler of this country. Since she took over, Snow Country has flourished and the people here are happy again. So, you were part of a rebel group? Asked Esdeath curiously. Naruto smiled widely and it made her blush slightly. Actually, there were just 4 of us and we were hired to act as bodyguards for a very spoiled and bratty actress. I was only 13 at the time. He chuckled. It turned out that simple bodyguard mission was anything but. It's a long story. Esdeath smiled and said, well, we have plenty of time. Tell me how a simple bodyguard mission turned into overthrowing a government. Their dessert arrived and she said between bites of cake, you have me very curious now, so don't hold back on the details. Naruto said, alright Esdeath-chan. It all started when Team 7 went to see a Princess Gale movie. Esdeath was quite riveted for the next couple of hours as Naruto told her about Team 7's adventure, and unlike Naruto who was wrapped up in storytelling, she noticed that a small audience had gathered around in the restaurant and people of all ages seemed very enthralled with hearing the story, as if it was a great legend come to life. Anyway, Dot ran himself out of juice by using his Twin Dragon Blizzard Jutsu attack, and I was able to find an opening and defeated him with my Rasengan," said Naruto. That's when several children started clapping and startled Naruto a bit. "I didn't realize I had an audience," he said embarrassed. Ninjas should really pay more attention to their surroundings. He mentally scolded himself. Esdeath smiled rather brilliantly at him as several people asked to see the legendary Rasengan, and after a bit of cajoling, he demonstrated a normal-sized Rasengan after making everyone promise to stand back a bit. The light blue-haired general was dazzled as the spiraling sphere of pure glowing chakra appeared in Naruto's hand and seemed to illuminate the entire restaurant and the whole crowd with it. Such power and charisma radiates from him. He is truly amazing. Esdeath thought happily as the people cheered and Naruto smiled shyly. Sometime later Naruto and Esdeath were walking back to Konoha Castle after several people shook hands with Naruto-sama and praised his bravery. Naruto was a bit overwhelmed, but Esdeath was quite overjoyed. He has so much more potential than I realized. The people flocked to him naturally, and I know that Rasengan he showed was only a fraction of his power. He is truly worthy of being my partner. Esdeath blushed slightly and reached out with her hand shyly to take Naruto's hand as they walked. That was when she realized Naruto had his hands behind his head with his fingers interlaced. Quickly losing her nerve, she decided to try again at a later time. Fire Country, Team Kurenai's campsite. Team Kurenai and company had made it across the Fire Country border and decided to set up camp for the night. The trip across Hot Springs Country was pretty uneventful aside of lunch, and everyone settled in after a big dinner into their tents, with the 3 Chunin ninjas taking turns on watch. Kiba was first, then Hinata and lastly Shino. Leone was sawing logs the minute she hit her bedroll. As for Akame was in her tent and lying awake. She had been for hours. Once again the thoughts of her little sister Kurum filtered through her mind. Kurum had been trained as an elite assassin by the Empire just like Akame. While Akame's strength and endurance were from years of brutal and rigorous training, Kurum wasn't so fortunate. Kurum had her body enhanced through doping and drugs that made her dependent upon them, and therefore the Empire. Eventually those same drugs would kill Kurum. They already were slowly. While Akame left the Empire of her own volition, Kurum couldn't even if she wanted to. Kurum wanted her older sister to return to the Empire to restore her honor. Both sisters still loved each other and wanted to be together again, but fate had dealt them a cruel hand. On top of that, Kurum seemed to have developed an unstable mind and played with the corpses of her victims. Her Tigu, a katana named Yatsufusa, allowed her to control 8 corpses slain by the Tigu as puppets, and she'd expressed the deranged concept of wanting to make Akame part of her collection. Somehow in Kurum's mind these puppets weren't truly dead and that she still considered them her friends. Presumably that was what Kurum's idea was regarding Akame. The idea chilled Akame to the bone. It wasn't fear of Kurum on the older sister's part, but rather fear for her. Akame truly wondered if her little sister had lost her mind. The red-eyed assassin also wondered if Kurum could ever be completely healed in body and in spirit. While Akame certainly had more blood on her hands than she could ever wash off. She didn't feel that her soul was broken. She felt Kurum's was. In Akame's view, Kurum was very, very ill and badly needed help, but Akame had no means of providing it aside of killing Kurum to end her pain, which was an absolute last resort. Hinata had mentioned to Akame in passing that the leader of Konoha, the 5th Hokage Senjutsunade, was renowned as the greatest medical ninja on the elemental continent. Akame's thoughts kept drifting back to Kurum and wondered if somehow this Tsunade person could heal her little sister. The dark-haired girl figured it was a pipe dream, but she couldn't help but dwell on it. She eventually found she couldn't sleep no matter what she did and got up to sit by the campfire. The black-haired assassin crawled out of her tent and saw Hinata was sitting by the fire because it was her turn on watch. Hinata asked quietly, "What's wrong, Akame-san? Can't you sleep? No offense, but I can tell you are exhausted." Akame nodded at the perceptive young Haika woman. "I'm just restless. I have a lot on my mind and can't seem to get to sleep." The indigo-haired girl asked kindly, "Is it about your mission? I assure you we will make an effort to help you." The red-eyed girl shook her head. "No, the mission really isn't an issue. I honestly figure the political prisoner we've come for is already dead and gone. I think we'll end up traveling back empty-handed." "If that's not bothering you, then what is it?" asked Hinata. "We're quite safe in this area if you're worried about an ambush." Seeing Akame wasn't worried about that from her body language, Hinata simply asked, "Do you want to talk about it?" Akame paused and looked across the fire into Hinata's pearl-like eyes. After staring for a moment, the black-haired assassin asked, "Do you have any siblings?" That was out of the blue. thought Hinata. She smiled gently and said, I have my little sister Hanabi-chan. She's one of my most precious people. She's 12 years old now. The red-eyed girl asked, are you too close to one another? Hinata sighed. We were very close when we were little, but then our clan training kept us apart. It's only been since the war ended that we have been allowed to be real sisters again. I'm happy but I have missed Hanabi-chan a lot over the years. Akame said, I have a little sister too. Her name is Kurum. We were very close when we were growing up, but now she works for the Empire and I work for the Revolutionary Army. I guess she's 14 now. I love her, but we are enemies because I defected from the Empire. The Hokage era said, that must be terrible. Does she still care for you as well? She loves me but considers me a traitor. Said Akame, wondering why she was telling a total stranger this. Kurum's very sick and I want to help her and free her from the Empire, but I don't know how. Does the Empire not have good hospitals? Asked Hinata with confusion in her voice. Akame didn't realize it, but she had tears running down her cheeks. They give Kurum body enhancement drugs to make her a better assassin. Those drugs are slowly killing her and I'm powerless to help her. I don't know what to do. Akame broke down from the stress and cried. She didn't know when Hinata had come around to her side of the fire and embraced her. It took the red-eyed girl a while before she finally got herself back under control. Akame finally said between hiccups, I'm terribly sorry Hinata-san. I didn't mean to make a scene. Hinata gently patted Akame's back. We all need someone to talk to sometimes Akame-san. Don't worry about it. Are you feeling a little better now? I think you've had that bottled up inside of you for a long time and it needed to come out. Akame slowly nodded. It seemed that exhaustion had finally caught up with the red-eyed young woman as she yawned. Why don't you try to get some sleep? Said Hinata. Hopefully you can rest a little easier now. Akame quietly said, thank you Hinata-san. I really mean it. Akame quietly crawled back into her tent and fell into a dreamless sleep. About 20 minutes later Leon peered out of her tent and saw Hinata's back to her silhouetted by the fire. Her gold eyes widened when Hinata said, you can come out Leon-san. Leon silently cursed herself for forgetting that Hinata could literally see 360 degrees. As she crawled out of her tent she said, I wasn't spying or anything. I just forgot you have eyes in the back of your head. Hinata shrugged as Leon joined her by the fire. Suddenly the blonde woman said quietly, you did a good thing for Akame-chan. I thank you. Hinata replied, what are friends for? The cat-like woman was taken aback. You'd consider Akame and I your friends. I don't see why not. Said Hinata. My entire team is made up of trackers and we have good instincts when it comes to reading people. Although your methods were quite wrong, your purpose isn't. I don't know how much we can help you achieve your goals, but I don't see why we can't be friends. Friends are good things to have. Besides, we just ended a massive war here a few months ago. I can empathize with the stress you must be under. Leon gave a genuine smile and said, you are a good person, Hokage Hinata. I hope we can be friends too. Leon then went back to her tent to sleep. Shino soon took over the watch from Hinata and the rest of the night went peacefully. Konoha, Hokage's office. The Honorable 5th Hokage Senju Tsunade was rudely awakened from her slumber at 6 a.m. at her desk by her faithful apprentice Shizune, who then took it upon herself to criticize her Hokage for being up all night drinking in her office. Shizune then performed an intervention for the sake of Tsunade's liver and cleared the office of all of Tsunade's remaining sake bottles she had stashed here and there in the office, even the ones in the hidden ceiling hatch. As if that wasn't enough, the dark-haired woman further overstepped her bounds by using medical ninjutsu to purge the remaining alcohol out of Tsunade's system to get her up and around for the day, instead of letting Tsunade sleep off her remaining hangover or at least use it as an excuse to get a morning buzz to deal with the headache. Tsunade groaned as she heard a knock on her door and an overly chipper Shizune came in with the morning mail. I'm glad to see you bright-eyed and alcohol-free Tsunade-sama. Said Shizune cheerfully. Tsunade irritably gave her loyal apprentice the finger under her desk. The dark-haired woman figured her master was doing this but decided she'd won a victory today against Lady Tsunade's blood alcohol content and brushed it off. I've gone through the morning reports and Team Kakashi in Snow Country and Team Kurenai in Frost Country both have reported in. I ordinarily would not have brought these up to your attention, but both reports make mention of jutsu-enabling objects known as Tigu. Tigu? I've never heard the term. Said Tsunade, genuinely curious. Shizune nodded. They are apparently items created on another continent. Team Kurenai has 2 Tigu users traveling with them and are bringing them back to Konoha in an effort to prevent an international incident from occurring, as Aburame Shino put it. Said Tsunade with a sweat drop. Okay, what about Team Kakashi's report then? Sakura-chan has a more technical report that the Tigu user there apparently can use wide-scale ice jutsus, something like the extinct Yuki clan was known for. Explained Shizune. She has this person, a young woman named Esdeath, under her medical care and wishes for further instructions. She plans to bring Esdeath-sen back to Konoha when they return. From what Sakura-chan has written, it's an excellent opportunity for a case study as well as helping this person recover from a lengthy confinement. The name Esdeath certainly sounds foreign. A lengthy confinement of what nature? Asked Tsunade. The person in question was found incarcerated in a hidden prison from Kazuhana Daten's time and power. Said Shizune. Apparently Esdeath-sen was some sort of political prisoner, but the situation is unclear as many of Daten's records were lost when he was forcibly removed from power. Tsunade glanced over both reports and said, these 3 Tiga users all have origins on another continent as well, and all 3 mention an empire. Sakura has reported this empire may be hostile, and that Koyuki-sama has her people investigating Daten's possible dealings with this empire. Shizune nodded. Sakura-chan also indicated that she and Naruto believe the hidden prison they found and Snow Country's airship technology may have come from this empire as well. The problem is we have no hard proof of any of it. The 5th Hokage sighed. But both groups have good instincts and proven it time and again. Kids these days, we just ended a war and now they've found evidence of a possibly hostile foreign power. Get a message out to Team Kakashi to return to Konoha with this Esdeath woman under their care. As for Team Kurenai, they're already on their way. She glanced over Shino's report once more. Tiny balls, huh? No wonder the poor bastard keeps his name hidden. Damn, I guess his parents must have hated him or something. Imperial capital, Yeager's residence. Guruma woke early from her slumber once again, wondering where her big sister Akame had gone. The younger woman bore a strong resemblance to her older sister Akame, but had dark eyes and wore her hair in shorter twin-tailed style instead of straight like Akame. They even dressed in a similar manner. She was one of the Yeagers, a powerful group formed over 2 years ago under General Esdeath's dynamic leadership. They were strong. Strong enough to battle the likes of Night Raid, which they specifically were formed to combat. There were 7 of them then. Those were good times, but so many of them had died in battle. Gurum, Wave and her undead puppet Run were all that was left of the Yeagers now. Ever since General Esdeath had been taken away 2 years ago, Wave swore it was an act of treason against Esdeath. They had been a special squad under several different commanders. They weren't treated kindly and were constantly in action against Night Raid because they were among the few strong enough to face the rebels. Gurum realized she was running out of time and wanted to call her older sister Akame out for one last battle between sisters. She wanted Akame to rejoin the empire, but deep down she knew that it would never happen. Gurum determined as a last resort that she would turn her beloved Ni-chan into one of her puppets so they would be together forever as sisters should be. The dark-eyed assassin had left various messages starting nearly 4 weeks ago for Akame to meet her, but intelligence reports showed that Akame of Night Raid had vanished from the front lines and that she might be dead. Gurum didn't believe that for a second. I've kept leaving messages here and there that Akame Ni-chan would be sure to see. I know she's not dead. She's far too strong to be dead. She's my Ni-chan. The question is, where is she? It was with a twisted sense of pride that Gurum held her older sister. She loved Akame dearly but could never forgive her for betraying the empire. Gurum also was beginning to have feelings for her fellow Yeager, Wave. He was a genuinely good man that really cared about her. He'd sworn high and low that she had to live through this war and could be healed from all the damage done to her body by all the enhancement drugs. Gurum wanted to believe him. She really did. He also was trying to steer her away from fighting Akame. The poor man just didn't understand that the situation between her and Akame Ni-chan had to be settled this way. Gurum dreamed last night of being with Wave and even having a family together out in the country. Akame was there too and was a doting aunt to her little ones. The young assassin wanted to cry. They were in a war and the empire was falling apart. Since General Esdeath had been locked away to God knows where, and General Budo, the strongest general in the empire, had died recently at the hands of Night Raid, public insurrections grew stronger by the day and the revolutionary army seemed to grow in strength as well. Gurum believed that the empire could survive this through sheer military might, but Wave had indicated to her that the prime minister himself was corrupt and eating away at the empire's very core. Being as loyal to his country as Wave was, it shocked Gurum to no end to hear him say that. When she asked him what he was going to do, she feared he would defect. Wave told her he would see it through to the end to protect her. Gurum once again found herself shackled in a situation beyond her control and feared being killed if she outlived her usefulness. Her body was going piece by piece. The young woman decided to lie in bed a while longer as silent tears streamed down her face. She just wanted for it to all go away. Things didn't look good for the empire. Unknown to Gurum, their top military strategists felt they might be able to hold out another 2 years. They predicted it would be brutal and bloody for the revolutionary army, but whichever side won would have a Pyrrhic victory at best. There would be no true victors, and countries from outside of the 1,000-year-old empire would easily be able to mop up whatever was left. Snow Country, Kazuhana Castle. Esdeath woke up and found both Sakura and Naruto there waiting when she got up and dressed. She cursed silently. If Sakura was there then Naruto couldn't put his magic hands to work. Esdeath wanted to wake up to one of Naruto-kun's incredible back rubs every morning, however she greeted them pleasantly. "Good morning, Naruto-kun. Sakura-san. I was just getting ready for my morning exercises. Would you like to watch my form?" The last question was obviously aimed at Naruto. Sakura smiled and said, "Actually, the mission Naruto and I are on is basically completed. We're going back to Fire Country soon." The young light blue-haired woman felt herself panicking. "Naruto-kun is leaving me behind." Naruto said, "Anyway, Sakura-chan and I are waiting for final instructions from the Hokage before we depart. We were wondering if you'd like to come back to Konoha with us until you're fully recovered. If you don't want to. I'm sure we could." "I'd love to go back to your home village with you, Naruto-kun," answered Esdeath excitedly. "Yes. More back rubs." She cheered mentally. It seemed the whole building an army to get revenge thing had slipped Esdeath's mind temporarily. Naruto and Sakura both smiled at her eagerness, and Sakura said, "Once we get our orders, we'll make arrangements then. We'll have to get you some additional traveling clothes though. It's about 5 days by ship and then another 3 days traveling through Fire Country at a civilian pace. Since you're already up and around, why don't you exercise and then you and I can do some clothes shopping." Naruto was preparing to escape in a body flicker when Sakura grabbed his ear so he couldn't get away. "Naturally, Naruto will be coming along to carry our purchases like the proper gentleman he is. Isn't that right, Naruto?" Sakura said with a manic look in her emerald eyes. Naruto knew there was no escaping now. He shivered at Sakura's crazed look and said, Sure thing, Sakura-chan. I'll tag along with you and Esdeath-chan," he said in a frightened tone. Sakura nodded and smiled as she released his ear. "Now you're committed, pack mule," she thought evilly. "I don't know what your tastes in clothes are, Esdeath-san, but I'm sure we'll find something you like." "Excellent," said the light blue-haired woman. Esdeath had never really done much clothes shopping, she preferred her uniforms, but she thought this might turn out to be interesting. Naruto just cowered in fear and prayed that Esdeath wasn't like Sakura and Ino when it came to shopping. Chapter 4. The Snow Country Ship Ice Skater. It was morning and Sakura groaned irritably in her cabin, which was next to Esdeath's. Esdeath was getting her morning back rub and was moaning like a bitch in heat. Sakura wanted to go over and smack Naruto around, but he honestly believed he was just giving Esdeath a simple massage. Flashback. Naruto was sitting on his bunk in his cabin just after they boarded the ice skater and unpacked their things. Sakura was lecturing him against using a seduction hijutsu on Esdeath. She'd already told him that if Esdeath decided to force herself upon him that she wouldn't help the blonde ninja out at all. "But Sakura-chan, it's just a relaxation technique," said Naruto in denial. "For you to actually use it as a seduction technique, you have to give a full body massage and reach around the front as well," he explained as he motioned from his chest to his abdomen. "I haven't touched anything but Esdeath-chan's back and shoulders above the waistline." Sakura face palmed. "You do realize that you probably have the most potent chakra in the elemental nations, don't you? Your technique is far more effective than anyone else's could ever be as a result." Naruto huffed. "It's just a basic relaxation technique, Sakura-chan. I can't believe you think I'm trying to seduce Esdeath-chan. Have you considered giving her a normal massage?" asked the frustrated Rosette. The blonde ninja cocked his head to one side. "It's the only kind of massage I know how to do, Sakura-chan. I didn't know there was another kind." Then Naruto crossed his arms and said gruffly, "None of the other women I gave massages to complained that I was trying to seduce them or anything." "You've got to be kidding me," exclaimed Sakura. "Just how many women have you given your so-called back rubs to?" Naruto shrugged. "I don't know, Sakura-chan. Hiro-Senin had me do it a lot because I had a knack for it. It wasn't like I kept count." Sakura's jaw hit the floor. Is he really that dense? It must be genetic. The two teammates bickered a while, but finally Sakura's face fell and she said, "You're an idiot. I give up." Rotating on her heel she left Naruto's cabin. Flashback end. That was 3 days ago. Now the genetically oblivious idiot was driving Esdeath into orgasmic bliss every single morning for the past 3 days, and there were still 2 to go before they reached Fire Country. Sakura had come up with a hypothesis. In spite of the fact Naruto was a pervert, he had indeed done his best to resist his master Jiraiya-sama's utterly super perverted ways and teachings. It wasn't like he was some kind of skirt chaser that was always out whoring. Sakura was proud of him for that. On the other hand, she figured Jiraiya had innocently trained Naruto in these so-called relaxation techniques in order for Naruto to drive women wild and turn the blonde ninja into a total sex machine. Sakura figured that Jiraiya had taught other innocent things to Naruto that probably would make him an absolute animal in the sack. Sakura hated to think of her brother figure that way, but she figured Jiraiya-sama would pull something like that and she loved Sasuke-kun, of course. The Rosette had come to one conclusion though. When Sasuke-kun returned like he said he would, Sakura would force him to learn those Hijutsu techniques from Naruto, so Sasuke-kun could give Sakura orgasmic massages, lots and lots of them. She knew sure as hell that Orochimaru hadn't taught Sasuke-kun anything like that, and she'd be damned before she went without from the Uchiha that owned her heart and kept her waiting. Judging by Esdeath's eyes and panting in the next cabin, Sakura figured Naruto was a full-blown master of his craft. The Rosette just shook her head. My teammate is either a genius at seducing women or a complete idiot. Sigh, oh, who am I kidding? He's a total baka. Higher country, the gates of Konoha. Team Kurenai arrived in the morning with Akame and Leon in tow. They were generally in high spirits, and Leon and Akame were looking forward to getting a nice rest with actual beds instead of camping. Izumo informed them as they signed it, Hokage-sama is expecting you and your 2 guests, so report there first. Shino nodded and said in his usual monotone, understood. Izumo and Katetsu both took a good long look at the buxom blonde Leon as she walked in. Izumo simply said, "Damn, what a woman." Once she was out of earshot. Katetsu silently nodded in agreement with Izumo's astute assessment. They both wondered if she might not be related to Tsunade. Konoha rode to the Hokage tower. "So your Hokage is your general?" asked Leon. "It's kind of hard to believe this whole village is a military dictatorship, given how peaceful it looks. All hidden ninja villages have similar governments that are ruled by a Kage," explained Hinata. "Most of the civilians in Konoha are related to ninja clans or work in an industry related to ninjas. If you wanted to see a more normal city you would want to go to the fire capital or another large city." Akame's eyes shifted around. She caught glimpses of Anbu observing them from a distance on the rooftops. Unlike Leon that seemed fairly relaxed, Akame was on edge. Leon turned to her younger companion and said, "What's wrong, Akame? You seem tense." The black-haired assassin simply said, "We are being watched." "It is to be expected," said Shino in his monotone. "You are armed and potentially hostile, so naturally you are being monitored. This is a ninja village. Nothing is going to happen as long as you don't do something out of turn." "You have nothing to worry about," assured Hinata. "You are simply going to see the Hokage and talk to her." Leon patted Akame's head affectionately. "Just go with the flow, Akame. It will be alright. I hope." It wasn't long before Team Kurenai submitted their reports and exited, and Akame and Leon were allowed to enter the Hokage's office. They saw Tsunade sitting behind her desk with Shizune standing at her side. Tsunade said, "I am Senju Tsunade, the 5th Hokage. I welcome you to Konoha. Team Kurenai has appraised me of your unique situation and your previous indiscretions. May I know your names, please?" Leon could feel the power radiating off this woman and gulped. Akame simply kept a level head and said, "I am Akame, an assassin, and this is my partner Leon. I realize our actions in Frost Country were reckless, and we are hoping to procure your assistance in contacting Snow Country diplomatically to prevent another incident from occurring." "I see. Can you explain to me your situation in detail?" asked Tsunade. "I know the general state of affairs from Team Kurenai's reports, but I would like to hear it from you directly, so there are no misconceptions." Akame decided that hiding information from this woman would be a very bad idea. Tsunade's presence was quite overwhelming. "We came from our home continent looking for a political prisoner that was a former general in the Imperial Army and was locked away by the corrupt Prime Minister of the Empire. We are members of the Revolutionary Army that wishes to overthrow the Prime Minister and the Empire. It is our intention to invite this former general to join our side against the Prime Minister." Tsunade's amber eyes stared hard into Akame's red ones. "And what do you intend to do if this former general refuses your invitation?" The assassin said in a cold tone, "Then we are to execute her regardless of the consequences." Leon nearly jumped in panic. "Ahaha. What Akame-chan means to say is..." The 5th Hokage cut Leon off with a glare. "I believe what Akame-san said was perfectly clear." She looked back at Akame. "I appreciate your honesty. That could lead to political repercussions, however. If this person is already free and part of Snow Country's citizenry, then I can't exactly make arrangements for you to potentially kill a person." Tsunade paused and looked at Akame and Leon a moment before she asked, "Your target wouldn't happen to be a Tigu-using young woman named Esdeath, would it?" Akame was impassive, but Leon flinched ever so slightly. Then Tsunade said, "You hide it well, Akame-san, but your partner didn't. I can make arrangements for you to talk to her, but you can't kill her unless some questions are answered. I understand you have a mission to complete, but you aren't in your country, so you'll have to play by our country's rules. Is that acceptable, Akame-san, Leon-san?" Leon was sweating heavily from the pressure, and Akame was showing small signs of fatigue. Swallowing, Akame said, "I accept your terms, Hokage-sama. We will talk to Esdeath without threat to her person. If necessary, we will take further steps under your guidance. We didn't travel from another continent to make more enemies." "And you, Leon-san?" asked Tsunade. Truthfully, Leon was torn, but she saw Akame's decision was made. I accept you terms as well, Hokage-sama. The pressure in the room seemed to lighten as Tsunade leaned back. Very good then. Esdeath-san is already on her way here, so I will be able to arrange a meeting between you once she arrives. Leon and Akane couldn't quite hide their surprise at this news. Tsunade then asked, have both of you been immunized for diseases on this continent and checked over? As a medic, I can't have you dying of a minor disease or inadvertently spreading some kind of a plague from your home continent. Leon said with a sweat drop, actually I never thought of such a thing. Hearing medic started the wheels in Akame's head turning about her little sister Kurum, but she was in no position to ask the Hokage for such a favor at this point. Sensing no ill will, Akame said, if you have a treatment facility we are willing to submit to an examination for everyone's safety. We are? Asked Leon in a shocked tone. Says who? Akame cocked an eyebrow. Says me. The commander put me in charge of this mission, remember? The cat-like woman fidgeted and then said, alright Akame-chan, you win. But if they murder us in a hospital then I'll blame you forever when we get to hell. Team Kurenai was given the task of escorting Leon and Akame to the Konoha hospital. As they walked along, the two members of Night Raid were quietly making conversation and looking at the peaceful village. Did you see the huge rack on that Hokage woman? Asked Leon astonished. Damn, I wonder just how big she is. Akame's head pivoted mechanically towards her stacked blonde companion with an utterly flat look. It wasn't like Leon's assets weren't proudly on display. Leon saw her partner's emotionless stare and asked what? What is it? She started to sweat as Akame's dead stare continued to bore into her. Finally Akame said. You can shut up now. Leon pouted and Team Kurenai shook their heads and sweat dropped. As they entered the hospital they saw a black-haired woman with a baby girl coming towards them. She smiled softly and said, hi kids. How's my team doing? Hinata answered first. Kurenai-sensei. We're so glad to see you. How's baby Mirai? Kurenai came over and noticed the two guests her team was escorting. Shino handled the appropriate introductions and Hinata held little Mirai who cooed and giggled as the Hokage heiress baby talked to her cutely. Leon said, gee Akame, with a fair skin, black hair and red eyes, I'd think you and Kurenai-san were related. Everyone looked back and forth between Akame and Kurenai before the two answered in synch, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Everyone blinked and Kurenai and Akame looked at each other in surprise before they said in synch again. I'm sure we can't be related. Both women stared at each other and Kurenai said, well I'd best take Mirai home. It's time for her feeding. Scooping up Mirai from Hinata, Kurenai said her farewells and departed. Kiba stared at Akame and said, maybe you two are related somehow. Don't be ridiculous Kiba. Said Shino face palming. It was just a fluke. That really was pretty strange, thought the whole group. Akame just remained silent and wondered. Fire Country, Port City 2 days later. It was morning and Esdeath was practically glowing with happiness as she disembarked the ice skater with Naruto and Sakura. She'd never had a better trip in her life. If Naruto-kun can do that with his hands, what can he do with the rest of his body? She wanted to giggle like a schoolgirl, but years of discipline kept her from doing so. She had an image to maintain after all. Esdeath's euphoria was completely lost upon Naruto, but her smiles and shy blushes at Naruto were painfully obvious to Sakura as they had breakfast in Port City. Well, it's just about 3 days at a civilian pace to Konoha, Esdeath-chan. Said Naruto. We'll have to spend at least 2 nights in tents, but that shouldn't be a big deal. I guess I'll have to share a tent with you, Naruto-kun, said Esdeath shyly as she blushed. I'm nipping this in the bud. Thought Sakura decisively. Oh, that won't be necessary, Esdeath-san. My tent is a double so there will be plenty of room. Naruto has a single so it would be way too cramped for the both of you. Besides, you need a good night's rest given you're convalescing. Naruto would wake you up when he crawled in and out to take his turn on watch. Sakura's tone was friendly, but it also conveyed that she would hear no arguments on the subject. Esdeath pouted knowing she'd been foiled and Naruto was clueless as ever. After eating they hit the road for Konoha. Naruto was soon talking to his resident furry partner Kurama. I'm telling you Naruto, the Hokage girl has already staked her claim. This foreign woman is trying to do the same. I foresee one almighty catfight coming up. What are you talking about, Kurama? I'm sure Hinata-chan and Esdeath-chan would make great friends. Said Naruto. I mean they are both quiet and turn red a lot and they both pretty and have beautiful blue hair. They have so much in common. I'm sure they'll hit it off easily. I'm talking about territorialism here, Naruto. Said Kurama with a sigh. He felt a migraine coming on. You do understand the concept, don't you? You know. When females get territorial. I understand territories fine, Kurama. Said the blonde. Fire country is a territory. Lightning country is a territory, wind country is a territory. Exactly. And what happens when one country marches into another country's territory, Naruto? Asked the fox hoping to get through to his totally oblivious partner. Well, generally it's a declaration of war. stated Naruto after thinking for a minute. Hopefully it can be diverted through diplomacy. I still don't see what this has to do with Hinata-chan and Esdeath-chan though. Females who are territorial declare wars on each other all the time, Naruto, said Kurama as if he was talking to a slow child. When your mother Kushina claimed your father as her territory, she started thrashing any woman that even looked at Minato with a hint of lust. I'm telling you, it wasn't pretty. Of course she was totally oblivious that Minato was head over heels in love with her for years. Oh gods. History is repeating itself. It must be an Uzumaki thing. Kurama, it isn't like Esdeath-chan is planning to invade Hinata-chan's house. Laughed Naruto. Don't be silly. There are no territorial disputes going on. Kurama's jaw hit the floor at his partner's idiocy. He buried his head in his furry paws. I think I need to cry now. Naruto's level of ignorance about females is so great that it's like a dead albatross tied around my neck. He isn't going to get the idea until some girl ties him up in a chair and uses him as her talking dildo while screaming I love you at the top of her lungs. I give up. While Kurama was lamenting over the injustice of it all, Naruto was brought back out of his thoughts by Sakura talking to him. I'm sorry, what did you say, Sakura-chan? Asked the blonde. Sakura motioned ahead to a puddle in the middle of the road about 100 yards ahead of them. It was hot and dry out. It obviously hadn't rained in days. Both teammates got a nauseating sense of deja vu, remembering their first C-ranked mission and the Demon Brothers. Oh, give me a break, muttered Naruto under his breath as he face-palmed. He activated his sensory ninjutsu and said quietly, there are 2 in the puddle and 3 up in the tree's branches overhanging the road. Sakura said, I'll shake them down and you take them out. Esdeath-san needs to be protected. Esdeath raised an eyebrow hearing the conversation between the 2 teammates. She scanned ahead and while she didn't see anything but a puddle, but she did sense a weak killing intent. Naruto said quietly, brace yourself for a shockwave, Esdeath-chan. Before the light blue-haired woman could really react or reply, she saw Sakura's foot raise and then hit the ground with a minor earthquake that made her stumble. She saw the puddle seem to evaporate and 2 shocked ninjas appear and fall flat on their faces. Another 3 ninjas fell out of the trees and landed unceremoniously on their backsides in a tangle of bodies. See the 5 trying to clamber to their feet. Naruto saw their scratched forehead protectors were from grass country and blurred through the hand signs as he threw a brace of shuriken. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, said Naruto as the 3 shuriken he threw multiplied into a wall of 1,000 spinning metal streaks of death. The ensuing bloodbath was easily predictable and Esdeath had stars in her eyes as their 5 would-be attackers were sliced to bloody ribbons. Naruto made 5 shadow clones that went forward and checked what little was left of the bodies. One of the clones called out, they aren't rigged, boss. Should we take their heads for bounty? Naruto nodded. Go ahead and take the heads and anything else of use. Dispose of the rest while I look them up in the bingo book. Esdeath watched with fascination as the clones effortlessly cut off the damaged heads and searched for anything useful on the bodies. Naruto himself was identifying the missing nin's heads as his clones finished up and then used minor fire jutsus and reduced the remains to ash. After that was done, Naruto sealed up the heads and belongings and cleaned his 3 shuriken he'd thrown. Then Sakura used an earth jutsu to erase the fact there had even been a clash. The light blue-haired woman marveled at the ninja's efficiency. To her, anyone else coming down the road, it looked like an ordinary summer day without a trace of bloodshed. Best of all, it was obvious that Naruto and Sakura hadn't even broken a sweat. Flashback, Esdeath's Imperial Academy days. So what exactly were these ninjas, Professor? Asked Esdeath in interest. If they were that powerful, why didn't we try to co-opt them or at least use their methods? The professor got a gleam in his eye. The ninjas left no traces of themselves, Officer Esdeath. It was said that entire Imperial squads would vanish and not a single trace of them could be found of them. Some books have theorized that the ninjas weren't completely wiped out and may have interbred with existing clans. Some clans that are known for their great assassination skills date back to the earliest days of the Empire and have completely unique and secret skills passed down from generation to generation. Who's to say they might not be descended of the ninja clan? Some of us in this very room might carry ninja blood within us. It's pure speculation, but I personally don't find it to be that far-fetched. Her fellow officer Najenda looked over at Esdeath after class ended and said, just think of the possibilities, Esdeath. Najenda's purple eyes were sparking with energy. What do you think we could do with an army of these ninjas? I'm going to read up more on them and learn more. Esdeath eagerly nodded at her friend. The possibilities were right there for the taking. Flashback end. Esdeath was shaken out of her musings by Sakura, who said, we need to take these heads to a bounty station and collect on them. Are you up to a detour of an hour or so? The light blue-haired woman nodded eagerly. Certainly, I'm up to it. What you and Naruto-kun did was quite impressive. You'd never know there was a battle here. Ninjas leave no traces, said Sakura with darkness in her green eyes. It's an unwritten rule. Esdeath's blue eyes gleamed with excitement. Yes, very impressive. I wonder what else you can do. That old geezer was right. Those of us who can truly harness the power of our Tigu may well be of ninja blood ourselves. Konoha, Training Ground 8. The Kame sneezed. Someone must be talking about me. She looked across the sparring grounds at her opponent Hinata. Akame had taken a liking to the quiet girl. Hinata was using Juken without full chakra, though it still hurt like hell, and Akame was using the Murasum with its sheath on, but it could still knock someone out. The red-eyed assassin noted the cold fire in Hinata's eyes as she activated her Byakugan and quietly said, "Come." The two young women charged each other in a flurry of strikes that were total blurs to the untrained eye. Kiba, Shino, Leon and surprisingly Hanabi were all watching eagerly as the two combatants danced and glided around each other. Both Akame and Hinata's style were about precision and finesse, as opposed to Kiba or Leon who were more brawler types. Since Team Kurenai was in charge of keeping Akame and Leon out of trouble, they came up with the idea of sparring yesterday, and everyone seemed to enjoy the strenuous workouts. The ninjas and the members of Night Raid also found a mutual respect growing between them. For Akame and Leon in particular it was nice. Back home the idea of sparring with your friends just for fun was unknown to them. Hanabi was watching Hinata and Akame spar with her Byakugan active. Ni-chan is right. Akame-san has instinctively learned to channel chakra through her body to enhance her strength and speed without using her Tigu at all. At this point Akame-san isn't channeling any chakra through her blade period. Her chakra control is very refined and efficient. I believe she could learn tree walking and water walking easily. On the other hand, Leon-san relies entirely on her Tigu belt to regulate her chakra, and when she has it active she's very wasteful of it. She's lucky she has large chakra reserves. Of course they've probably built up a lot from her burning so much chakra needlessly over time. Teaching her even the leaf sticking exercise would be a hard job. Hiba and Akamaru were sitting by Hanabi in the shade of a tree. He'd been sparring with Leon earlier, and he was amazed at how similar her Tigu's ability was like the Inyazuka All-Fours jutsu. He actually would have said the Tigu was created from knowledge based on Inyazuka techniques, but given it was made 1,000 years ago on another continent, he found that idea impossible to believe. Still, the similarities were astounding. It made him wonder what other kind of Tigus existed out there. Leon was watching with interest as Akame and Hinata went at it. Akame has an edge in raw strength, but Hinata seems to have an edge in maneuverability. They are pretty well evenly matched in speed. I'm not sure, but I would guess Akame has more endurance. It blows my mind how Hinata can catch the flat side of a sword and alter its trajectory. That's unheard of. Night Raid could really use some ninja allies. I wonder if there would be some way to get their help. Shino called out time. And Hinata and Akame backed away from each other and bowed to end the spar. Both girls were hot and sweaty, but it had been rather intense. "That was a good spar you two," said Shino. "Get something to drink and relax." Hinata and Akame came over to sit with the others and quickly retrieved their water bottles. "That got pretty extreme, Ni-chan." "Akame-san," said Hanabi excitedly. "I think you'd make a good team the way you complement each other." "I agree," said Shino. "Now that we've all worked up a good sweat we should wash up, grab a bite to eat and then decide what to do this afternoon." Hanabi said, "Let's go to the hot springs and soak Hinata Ni-chan. Please." Hinata smiled and said, "The hot springs do sound nice. What do you think Akame-san, Leon-san?" Akame smiled softly and nodded and Leon said, "To the hot springs then." With gusto in her voice. Konoha hot springs. Hinata was rinsing Hanabi's hair before they got in the springs to soak and Hanabi quietly confirmed Hinata's beliefs that Akame would make a fine ninja. It was a shame they couldn't train her. The Haika sisters soon came out to the springs to join Akame, who was soaking, and Leon, who was drinking. "This place has pretty good sake," said Leon in a satisfied tone. She had a good buzz going. "Do you want some sake, Hanabi-chan?" she asked teasingly. Hanabi said, "No thank you. I'm not old enough yet," and scooted back on Hinata's other side. They heard a scuffling on the other side of the fence to the men's side and both Haika sisters immediately activated their Byakugans. That's when they saw Abisu staring through a peephole in the fence directly at Leon. "Ni-chan, it's a pervert," whispered Hanabi as she sank into the water to further conceal herself. Sinking down as well. Hinata sighed and pulled a senbon needle out of her hair and darted it into the side of the peephole so it wouldn't actually travel through the hole all the way. They heard Abisu let out a girlish shriek followed by a splash of him falling backwards into the water. Hanabi then heard Saratobi Konohamaru's voice from the men's side. "What the hell are you doing, Abisu-sensei? You'd better not be peeping again or I'll tell Mogi-chan and she'll beat the ever-living hell out of you." "Be quiet, honorable grandson," hissed Abisu back. About that time Mogi drifted over to where the Haika sisters were. "Hi Hanabi-chan," she greeted in a friendly tone. "Don't you worry, I'll pummel Abisu-sensei after we all get out. Here's your senbon back, Hinata-san." Hinata smiled and nodded. "Thank you, Mogi-chan." said Hinata. No wonder Naruto-kun calls Abisu-san a closet pervert. Leon and Akane were soon introduced to Mogi, who was only too willing to try some sake from Leon. Hinata and Hanabi changed both Leon and Mogi's minds with their patented Hika sisters' double glare attack. Leon and Mogi just pouted and Akane secretly smiled. Within the hour the girls were dressed and met up with Shino, Kiba and Akamaru to get some food. Yakiniku Q barbecue. Hanabi watched in unabashed awe as Akane packed away more barbecue beef and pork than she thought was humanly possible. Being raised as a proper lady, Hanabi was really trying not to stare. It's like a huge wagon wreck. It's so horrible to see, but you just can't look away. Thought the young Hika girl as Akane inhaled yet another piece of steak. Poor Hanabi would never see meat the same way again. Higher Country, Bounty Station. Naruto was quietly counting the Ryo bills for the 4C class and 1D class missing nins they'd taken out. Soon he'd given Sakura her half of the cash and they decided to grab some food while they were there and have a late lunch. As Esdeath, Naruto and Sakura sat down to eat, the blonde said, from what the bounty records say. I guess those guys deserted before the last war from Grass Country and have been highwaymen ever since. What a waste. Sakura nodded in agreement and Esdeath asked, do you often face such foes? They certainly weren't of your caliber. Sakura shook her head. Most ninjas of that level prey on civilians. They should have withdrawn when they saw our forehead protectors but didn't. I guess they thought they could take us with numbers alone. Any decent Chunin team could have taken them out without much trouble. I really don't know what they were thinking. It wasn't like any of us were carrying any obvious valuables. Perhaps their luck just ran out, said Esdeath. I'm sure you both would have preferred much more challenging foes. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Actually, Esdeath-chan, we just want to keep you protected and get home safely. Esdeath smiled shyly and blushed a bit. It makes me really happy to hear him say that. The group of three was soon heading back to the main road that would lead them to Konoha. The morning had been far more eventful than planned. Chapter 5. Higher Country, Gates of Konoha. Round 1. Fight. 3 days had passed and the rest of the trip to Konoha was fairly uneventful for Naruto, Sakura and Esdeath. As they reached the front gates, Naruto jubilantly said, home at last. Hinata was passing nearby and sensed Naruto's warm and unique chakra signature. She soon came up and saw Naruto and his group standing there talking with the gate guards Izumo and Kitetsu. The indigo-haired beauty rushed up and gently placed her hands on Naruto's right arm. It was really being forward for her, but she was very happy to see him. Naruto-kun. I'm so glad you are back safely. How's your new arm? Is it okay? She asked shyly with a slight blush. Naruto turned and smiled at Hinata. He made a fist and flexed his fingers. My new arm is great, Hinata-chan. Tsunade-ba-chan did a great job. Hinata smiled in relief and said, that's wonderful, Naruto-kun. I'm so happy to hear it. Suddenly Esdeath gripped Naruto's left arm possessively and said in an icy voice, Naruto-kun, who is this person? Esdeath did her best to level Hinata with a completely psycho stare and aimed a massive amount of killing intent at Hinata. He's mine, bitch. Thought the light blue-haired woman ferociously. People around them took a healthy step back. The Hika era started to quail a bit, but then she saw Esdeath's hands on Naruto's other arm. She gripped Naruto's right arm firmly and activated her Byakugan with such a glare that the local wildlife began to flee. Keep your hands off my man, you hussy. She thought with determination that she hadn't felt since she faced off against the Juubi. Is this an acquaintance of yours, Naruto-kun? She asked in a tone like nails across a chalkboard. An image of a dragon appeared behind Esdeath and likewise one of a tiger appeared behind Hinata. Neither young woman was backing down one bit as sparks flew between them and they ratcheted up their killing intent at each other even higher. Sakura pictured the destruction of Pain's Shinra Tensei in her mind and saw visions of Konoha becoming a crater again as the tiger and dragon clashed violently against each other. Naruto's eyes widened at the massive killing intent he had point blank in his face. Even Kagaya's full fury had nothing on this. Naruto's mind was reeling as he thought, is this what Kurama meant about females getting territorial and going to war? Then he thought of both young women's blushes and shy smiles. Does this mean Hinata-chan and Esdeath-chan both like me? Inside Naruto's mindscape, Kurama yelled, Camus above. Reality has finally struck our resident idiot with the impact of a meteor collision. Do something, blockhead. The killing intent between the two of them is going to destroy us all. I don't want to die. The blonde ninja saw the fearsome determination etched in Esdeath's and Hinata's slightly psychotic faces as they glared at each other angrily. Izumo and Kitetsu had already fainted from the killing intent and Sakura's eyes were big as saucers. The Anbu arrived and were battle ready. Naruto felt a perverted giggle not unlike Jireya's coming on, but managed to tamp it down. I never noticed it before, but they're both so sexy when they are angry. This is kind of hot. Kurama nearly had an aneurysm. Naruto. Admire them later and stop them from killing one another and us in the process. Naruto grabbed both girls' hands and flared his sage mode, which caused both of them to gasp. Hinata-chan, Esdeath-chan. Stop fighting right now. We need to discuss things in private later. Now is not the time. Both young women saw the power glowing in his eyes and dropped their killing intent, but they also each kept holding his hands in defiance against each other. Naruto sighed. Hinata-chan, this is part is Esdeath-chan. She's a new friend that we found in Snow County. Esdeath-chan. This is my dear friend Hokage Hinata-chan that I've known since we were children. Please be kind to each other. Ha. He called me his dear friend hussy. Thought Hinata. It's nice to meet you Esdeath-san. Ground out the indigo-haired girl. It's nice to meet you too Hinata-san. Replied Esdeath through gritted teeth. You're just his childhood friend bitch. Sakura sighed in relief. Well, one potential disaster averted. Did Naruto finally get a clue? Perhaps we should go on and report to the Hokage Tower. Good idea Sakura-chan. Said Naruto. I'll just walk with you then since I'm headed in that direction anyway. Said Hinata. The last part was a total lie of course. Soon Naruto was traveling along holding hands with both Esdeath and Hinata on either side of him with Sakura bringing up the rear. The Rosette wanted to keep the two rivals glaring at each other in her line of sight in case another war broke out. Round 1. Draw. Hokage Tower. Esdeath was shown into the Hokage's office by Naruto and Sakura and was introduced to Tsunade. Being the responsible one Sakura said, Team Kakashi reporting mission successful. Hokage-sama, allow me to introduce Esdeath-san of the Partas clan. Esdeath-san. Allow me to introduce the 5th Hokage, Senju Tsunade-sama. Tsunade nodded. I welcome you to Konoha Esdeath-san. I've already been informed by letter of your medical status and Sakura will continue to take care of you as our guest. Esdeath bowed slightly, I thank you Hokage-sama. I have news of concern to you Esdeath-san. Said Tsunade. Esdeath raised her eyebrows in surprise. 2 other Tigu users are here and wish to meet you. They are members of an organization called the Revolutionary Army and wish to speak with you. I have been assured by them that they will not be hostile towards you and I expect you to do the same. I've arranged this meeting to take place in 3 days and they are not aware that you are in Konoha, so you do have the choice of leaving if you wish. Esdeath's eyes narrowed, who are they and what is it they wish to discuss? Tsunade looked directly into Esdeath's eyes and said, their names are Akame and Leon. This matter is between you and them. Konoha is a neutral party in this matter, but know that Konoha is safe ground. You are not allowed to attack them and vice versa. If you can't abide by this then you will be sped on your way now. Esdeath was a bit shocked at Tsunade's terms, but it had been explained to her that the Hokage was the supreme commander of this village, so her word is law. She briefly considered leaving, but then thought about Naruto and immediately decided to stay. Very well Hokage-sama, I accept your terms. Round 2. Fight. After their business was done with the Hokage Esdeath came out and was rather relieved that she didn't have to face off with Akame just yet. Leon she didn't know well, but Akame of Night Raid was a formidable opponent even by Esdeath's high standards. The light blue-haired young woman wasn't too prideful to admit Akame could kill her in her current state. Esdeath didn't know what Akame could want and Tsunade indicated it was business between her and Night Raid, with Konoha being a neutral party. However, she had Naruto-kun. As they came out of the Hokage's office Esdeath's face grew irritated that Hinata was sitting there waiting for them. Hinata immediately latched onto Naruto's right arm again and said happily. Naruto-kun. Let's go to Ichiraku's ramen and celebrate that your new arm works so well. I'll treat you to all you can eat because it's a special occasion. Naruto had stars in his eyes and he said really Hinata-chan. At her eager nod he said, you're the best Hinata-chan. I've missed Ichiraku so much. Where are we going? Asked Esdeath. Sakura said, you and I are going to Konoha Hospital for your full checkup Esdeath-san. Our equipment here in Konoha is far superior to the stuff in Snow Country. Esdeath asked, but what about Naruto-kun? Hinata smiled evilly at Esdeath and said Naruto-kun and I are going to have dinner together while you get your shots. Esdeath growled under her breath, damn that girl as Hinata gleefully led Naruto out of the Hokage Tower, smiling all the way to Ichiraku's. Round 2. Hinata. Winner. Konoha Hospital, 2 days later. Round 3. Fight. Esdeath hadn't been idle the 2 days she was getting probed and examined by Konoha's medics. Sakura and Shizune were very thorough and very professional, and Esdeath was soon doing more strenuous exercises. She'd also learned that Hokage Hinata was sort of a village princess and decided she should have an advantage against some pampered noble. That's when someone she wanted to see came in to see her for his daily visit. Naruto-kun. I'm so glad to see you. Said Esdeath happily. I just finished my morning checkup. Can you take me on a tour of your village? She asked hopefully. Sure thing Esdeath-chan. Said the blonde. I'd be happy to show you around Konoha. Hinata tracked down Naruto just in time to see him walking out of the hospital outpatient area with Esdeath on his arm. She wanted so badly to run over Esdeath and snatch Naruto-kun away, but it was painfully obvious that Naruto-kun was showing Esdeath around Konoha. She saw Esdeath meet her eye and glared as the light blue-haired woman stuck out her tongue at Hinata. "You may have won this battle, hussy, but I'll win the war for Naruto-kun's heart." The Hokage heiress stalked away and decided to indulge in some cinnamon buns to drown her sorrows. "There will be a reckoning," she muttered quietly to herself. Round 3. Esdeath. Winner. Meeting room, Hokage Tower. The next day Akame and Leon were invited by Tsune to the Hokage Tower for their meeting with Esdeath. They were both a bit nervous but at the same time very determined. They were escorted once again by Team Kurenai, and the mention of Esdeath's name put Hinata in a bad mood for some reason or other. Two Anbu greeted them and to their surprise, didn't insist on taking their Tigu when they were allowed to enter the meeting room. Akame entered first and Leon was right behind her. There was an Anbu in each corner of the room. At the same time a door on the opposite side opened and Esdeath stepped in wearing her general's regalia. For some reason Esdeath looked tired to the two members of Night Raid. Nevertheless her blue eyes were set hard as steel. Esdeath said, "So, two members of Night Raid have sailed from our home continent to see me. The Hokage informed me you wanted to talk. I am listening." Leon glared, but Akame remained impassive. "We were sent here by former Imperial General Najenda on a mission," said Akame. Esdeath's eyes widened slightly. "Najenda must want to pay me back for that arm and eye that I took," thought Esdeath. Akame continued. "Najenda has asked us to extend an invitation to you to join the Revolutionary Army. The Prime Minister is as much your enemy as he is ours now. Commander Najenda believes that you would be a huge asset to our forces. We were sent to free you from the Amulet of Souls with this." Akame held out the ornate key Najenda gave her. "However, it seems you've already managed to free yourself from it." She set the key on the table and slid it over to Esdeath to examine. The light blue-haired general picked up the key and examined it carefully. After a few minutes Esdeath said, "Very well, I believe you. I was freed only recently by some powerful ninjas of this village. I plan to recover physically and return to the Empire and destroy it with my own hands, but if Najenda wants my help, then I will gladly give it to her. I will need time to get back to full combat strength though." Leon said angrily, "Just how much time and how weak are you?" Esdeath blasted Leon with killing intent that made chills run up and down the blonde woman's spine. Esdeath's blue eyes flashed. "I am not weak. But 2 years of being locked in a cell with that soul-sucking amulet hung around my neck have put me in a state that I need to work myself back up to my full potential. There is no one on this earth that wants this to happen faster than I do, so don't tell me you are in a greater hurry than I am. I want to personally level the Imperial capital and freeze Honest alive for what he did to me. I will join the Revolutionary Army and help lead them to victory." Leon was shocked into silence by the sheer passion of Esdeath's declaration. A moment later Akame said, "It seems that Najenda's faith in you was justified. I no longer have any doubts. Leon, what do you think?" The blonde woman asked in a hollow voice, "Esdeath, what happened to Tatsumi? Did you kill him?" Esdeath got a pained look on her face. "I begged him to join me. Honest ordered him beheaded before my very eyes and I had nightmares of losing him for months while I was in that cell all alone. I loved him. My own heart has only recently begun to heal since I was freed." The pain in Esdeath's voice was enough for Leon. The cat-like woman said, "I wanted to kill you to avenge Tatsumi, but I guess it was Prime Minister Honest all along. I truly hate you for all you've done, but I guess we are allies now. If Najenda can forgive you for maiming her, then I guess I will have to as well." "Then we are allies?" Akame asked a former general. "Yes," said the light blue-haired woman. "I, Esdeath of the Partas clan, swear to help the Revolutionary Army destroy the Thousand-Year Empire and Honest with it." Akame nodded. "Najenda will be happy to hear this. We need to help you recover and return home as soon as possible." "I agree," said Esdeath. "However, I believe that having the ninjas as our allies would be a tremendous help against the Empire. I propose we try to form an alliance with them while we are here." Leon's eyes widened. "Do you think that's possible?" Esdeath nodded. "If the ninjas were to see the atrocities committed in the name of the Empire, I believe they would be willing to help us. Even a battalion of them would help, as many of them are as powerful as Tigu users unarmed." "That's quite a proposal, Esdeath," said Akame gravely. "Let's concentrate on restoring your power first and negotiate with our ninja friends later." The three women all nodded in agreement and the meeting was concluded. Hashirama Lane, Konoha Market District. Round 4. Fight. It had been 2 weeks and Naruto had many informal dates with Hinata and Esdeath. Now the confused and confounded Naruto was traveling along wondering what the two girls were up to. He felt like they were playing capture the flag and that he was the flag. The blonde was talking to his furry partner as he walked along in the late afternoon. "I don't know what to do, Kurama. Since I've been spending more time with both Esdeath-chan and Hinata-chan, I really like them both a lot more. They are both fun to be around and are always nice to me, but I think they hate each other. They seem curious about each other but not in a good way. What should I do? I guess I could ask Sakura-chan or Tsunade-ba-chan for advice. Well, you probably need to decide which one you like better. They both have their strong points and both seem very sincere about wanting to be with you," said Kurama. Naruto sighed. "I just wish I'd felt real love before. I don't really understand what it's like to be loved and I realize now that my crush on Sakura-chan was just a crush. I'm flying blind here. Maybe I should ask Sai for help on stuff. He has a lot of books on relationships." Kurama cringed when he thought of the pale-faced boy's advice he would give. "I think you'd be better off looking at the Konoha library and looking up some relationship books there." "I have bad memories about the library," said Naruto dully. "The old librarian hated you because of me, Naruto," said Kurama somberly. "That was years ago. You're a hero and accepted now. Just go. It will be fine. Trust me." "I guess you're right, Kurama. Old habits die hard," thought the blonde to his partner. We're being watched." Naruto felt his danger senses going off as he looked around. All he saw around him were civilians. All of them women. Actually all of them were young women around his age group, they were eyeing him hungrily like a pack of starving wolves around a big juicy steak. Naruto began to worry. One girl brown-haired came up to him and said, "You're Uzumaki Naruto-kun." She blushed and giggled. "Do you have a girlfriend?" "Danger, Naruto. This girl's in heat or something. I can smell the hormones in here," warned Kurama. Naruto found himself being slowly encircled by young females with hearts in their eyes. What is this? Is it a new Dojutsu? He thought in fear. "I heard Naruto-kun is still on the market," said a tall girl. "I've looked into it. He doesn't have a girlfriend," said a shorter black-haired girl. Then she added lustfully, "I heard Naruto-kun is hung like a horse." Naruto felt the girls' collective intent to have their way with him growing and he said in a high and squeaky voice, "Well, I've got to run." Then he leapt over the circle of girls to dash into the sunset, much like Jiraiya used to when he was caught peeping at bathhouses. "Bet him!" screamed the mob of fangirls as one. Naruto shrieked girlishly as he poured on the speed. Round 4. The evil horde of fangirls tag team. Winners. The Inuyasha compound. Akame arrived at the Inuyasha compound looking for Leon. The last time she and Leon sparred with Team Kurenai, Kiba had been complaining that Leon was spending a lot of time over there hanging out with his mother Tsume. Akame wasn't particularly worried about Leon's safety, but she did want to keep track of her companion just in case. Truthfully, Akame believed that Esdeath did want to join the revolutionary army, but she also was concerned that Leon might try to accidentally slay Esdeath, consequences be damned. At any rate, Akame knocked on the front door, hoping Kiba would be there to at least inform her if Leon was there. Instead, she was greeted by an attractive young woman. The obviously was an Inuyasha, judging by her fang tattoos. The young woman said, "Hello, you must be Akame-san. You really do look like Kurenai." I thought the runt was just blowing smoke when he said that. The black-haired assassin raised an eyebrow and said, "Yes, I am Akame. Who is this runt you're talking about?" The young woman chuckled. "Sorry, I was talking about my little brother Kiba. I'm Inuyasha Hana, heiress to the Inuyasha clan. What can I do for you? If you're looking for Kiba, he's out with Akamaru." Akame sighed, "Actually I was hoping my comrade Leon was here, Hana-san. Kiba-san said she comes over here a lot to talk to his mother." Hana shook her head. "Your friend and my mother Tsume went out about an hour ago to go drinking since we were out of cooking sherry. Let me get my gear on and I'll help you track her down." The red-eyed girl nodded appreciatively. "I thank you for your help." 10 minutes later, Hana came out in her Chunin gear and sniffed around delicately. Turning to Akame, she said, "I've got mom and your friend sent. Let's go." Konoha, number 8 sparring ground. Round 5. Fight. It was sunset. Hinata and Esdeath were staring each other down at the number 8 sparring ground. It had been 2 weeks that the girls had been snatching Naruto away from one another and both of them were sick to death of the competition. "Shouldn't you be recovering in a nice, safe hospital bed, Jailbird-san? I mean, you are rather under the weather from being locked up all this time," asked Hinata sarcastically as a tiger's image once again formed behind her. "Shut up, princess," growled Esdeath. "I'm more than capable of taking a weakling like you out." The image of a dragon once again formed behind Esdeath. "Is that so? I guess I won't have to hold back on you then, hussy," snarled Hinata. Esdeath roared, "Put your money where your mouth is, bitch," and lunged forward with a roundhouse kick. Hinata assumed her Jukin stance and directed Esdeath's foot off target before she took the offensive. Realizing she was at a disadvantage in pure Taijutsu, Esdeath drew her rapier and the two young women clashed again and again. Esdeath launched a spear of ice at Hinata, but the Hokage heiress destroyed it with her twin lion fists. The light blue-haired woman then upped the ante by sending a wall of ice, but Hinata countered with a katen. When the indigo-haired girl stopped spinning from her jutsu, Esdeath gave up any pretense of grace and tackled Hinata to the ground, causing the two beauties to roll end over end as they cursed each other out. "Bitch!" shrieked Esdeath. "Whore!" screeched Hinata. By this time both of them were getting pretty mangled as they ruthlessly pummeled each other as they brawled in the dirt. Esdeath finally kicked Hinata back off her to get some space when they saw Naruto go tearing by in an orange streak with a horde of lust-filled fangirls scrambling after him, screaming things like, "Capture him. Give me your babies, Naruto-sama. And he's mine. Don't let him get away." Hinata and Esdeath glared hard at each other and Hinata asked, "Truce?" from her standing position. Esdeath got up slowly and answered, "We will form an alliance to stop those little sluts from raping Naruto-kun." The two young women shook hands, each trying to crush the other's hand in the process, and then took off after the evil horde. Round 5. Draw. Konoha, Market District. Round 6. Fight. Hinata and Esdeath quickly started pursuing the fangirls and intercepted them on a side street. "You little bimbos had better back off now and leave Naruto-kun alone," declared Hinata. Esdeath growled, "You'd better start running in the opposite direction or the two of us are going to crush you like insects." The fangirls came to a screeching halt at the killing intent of the two blue-haired young women until one of them yelled shrilly, "You and what army? There's 2 of you and 50 of us. Ha ha ha. You don't stand a chance in hell." "Actually, I count only 47 of you," said Hinata calmly. The fangirl's self-appointed leader paused and then said, "So what? That means you are badly outnumbered by the 2 of us," said Esdeath. "Let them girls," shrieked a member of the mob. The fangirls charged at Hinata and Esdeath full force only for it to turn into an epic rout as the two blue-haired young women started kicking their collective asses. Girls were screaming in terror as fabric ripped and bodies flew in every direction. Male bystanders were cheering and yelling things like, "Tear off her shirt. Girl fight. And thank you Kami for letting me see this." In the end the evil horde of fangirls lay unconscious and beaten in the street and Esdeath and Hinata stood triumphant as they surveyed their work. "You aren't half bad, Esdeath-san," said Hinata with grudging respect. "You aren't too bad yourself, Hinata-san," replied Esdeath in the same tone of voice. "We need to find Naruto-kun and make sure he's alright." "Leave that to me," said Hinata as she activated her taijutsu. The Byakugan sees all. Round 6. Esdeath and Hinata Tag Team. Winners. Konoha, Entertainment District. Round 7. Fight. Esdeath and Hinata were battered and bruised more from fighting each other than the useless fangirls. Their uneasy alliance against fangirls was basically intact. They had at least come to view each other grudgingly as worthy opponents. Hinata used her Byakugan to track down Naruto and found him in a popular bar mainly for ninjas called the Calamity Bar. She was surprised to see him there given she had never known Naruto to drink. Inside the Calamity Bar, Naruto had downed so much sake that even with Kurama metabolizing the stuff he had a slight buzz going on. On his left side was a drunken Inyazuka Tsume who was encouraging Naruto to pack away as many drinks as he could and Leon on his right who was already tanked from drinking too much with Tsume. Naruto was trying to drink the horror of fangirls off his mind. Tsume said, "I tell you Leon, I think you'd make a good match for my boy Kiba. He's a little wet behind the ears, but he needs a good strong mate to take care of him." Leon laughed. "Kiba is pretty funny. Snort, we'd be at it like cats and dogs," she said laughing at her own bad joke. "Buy me a drink, pal of mine," the cat-like blonde woman said to Naruto as she threw an arm over his shoulders. Naruto shrugged her off and said, "Buy your own drinks. I'm trying to drown myself here. Why isn't this working? I thought after 10 bottles of sake you were supposed to be comatose." "Oh, you're no fun," said Leon with a pout. "Buy your one each and some booze." Naruto ignored Leon and Tsume said, "What's wrong Uzumaki-kun, having a bad night?" "Fangirls," Naruto answered with a shiver. "They attacked me en masse and I had to run." "Wahaha," bellowed Tsume. "One of the strongest ninjas on the continent and you are afraid of a few fangirls." Naruto's sweat dropped and Leon laughed. About that time Esdeath and Hinata came into the Calamity Bar and scoped out where Naruto was sitting. "There is Naruto-kun sitting with Tsume-san and Leon-san at the bar," said Hinata. Esdeath came up and glared at Leon making the blonde woman flinch and recoil. She turned to Naruto and said, "Naruto-kun. Come sit in a quiet corner with Hinata-san and I. Those fangirls are gone." "Yes, we dealt with them and chased them off Naruto-kun," added Hinata. The slightly inebriated Naruto said, "You girls are the best. Thank you so much Hinata-chan, Esdeath-chan." The two girls took him towards the far corner of the bar and they sat down together at the wooden table there. The waitress soon brought them their drinks and Hinata took a sip. She immediately blushed at the strength of the drink. Esdeath said, "Ha. It would be just like you to not be able to handle your liquor." Hinata's eyes narrowed and she quickly slammed the rest of her drink. Want to make a bet on that Esdeath-chan? Esdeath growled and said, I'll drink you under the table Hinata-chan. Bring it on. Said the Haiku heiress. I will. Answered the light blue-haired woman. 2 hours later both Hinata and Esdeath were staring at each other with bleary, bloodshot eyes. Ready to give an X-ray eyes. Slurred Esdeath. No way in hell psycho bitch. Retorted Hinata drunkenly. Then she slurred, Naruto-kun, you are not drinking enough. By this time Naruto had lost count of how many bottles he drank and was watching as the two girls teetered in their seats and prepared themselves for another round. I'm nearly at my limit, I can't lose to her, not in front of Naruto-kun, thought both young women as they each shakily reached for their next bottle of sake. About that time a chunin came flying into the table they were at and took out the girls' drinks as he slid across the table and bowled over Naruto. Both girls yelled, Naruto-kun. Take that, you son of a bitch. Yelled a wasted Tsume from across the room. You thought you and your friends could cop a feel, eh? Several ninjas were already up in combat stances when Tsume said, come on Leon. Let's kick their asses. Everything exploded at once as a dozen drunken ninjas flew into a brawl and the barkeep screamed no jutsus. No jutsus. The last thing Naruto saw before he blacked out was Hinata and Esdeath pulling the down chunin off of him. Hours later. The Calamity Bar was nothing but a pile of wreckage as Akame dragged yet another piece of roof off the pile and finally unburied the unconscious Leon and Tsume. The black-haired assassin looked at her companion in this endeavor and said, you were absolutely right, Hana-san. You and Yazukas are amazingly talented at tracking. Hana shrugged. Believe me. Tracking my own mother's scent wasn't that hard and I figured Leon-san was with her from the cat smell. Still, I'd have never found them in this mess. Replied Akame as she dragged Leon out of the wreckage with Hana's help. About 20 minutes later the comatose Tsume and Leon were clear off the wreckage and Hana was checking them over. Hana was a vet, but she knew enough medical jutsus to give the two drunken women a diagnosis. Rolling her eyes she said, other than some bumps and bruises the two of them are just stone drunk. They'll just have to sleep off the hangovers. The gods only know what happened in there. Looks like the Calamity will have to be rebuilt again. Again? Asked Akame. You mean this has happened before? Hana nodded and said, yep. It happens around 3 times a year. Last time a fire jutsu set off all the alcohol and blew the place to hell. That's why the Anbu are simply guarding and letting us and the others dig out our own friends and relatives. For the Calamity this is a pretty minor incident. Shouldn't someone be held responsible? Asked Akame with confusion in her red eyes. When you get that many ninjas drinking that liberally in an enclosed space something is bound to go wrong. Explained Hana. Unless a dead body turns up amongst the wreckage no one really cares. Anbu cat sauntered up. Are those two alive, Hana-chan? She asked. Hana nodded. They'll be just fine after they get over their hangovers. Pat checked Leon and Tsume's names off her list that was divided up into alive, dead and missing. So far no one was dead, so things were going well from Kat's point of view. Alright, take them home if they don't need to go to the hospital. Said the sword-wielding Anbu to Hana. Let's get them out of here, Akame-san. Said Hana as she none too gently hoisted her mother over her shoulder. Akame picked up Leon in a fireman's carry and nodded. Follow me and we'll let your friend Leon crash at the Inyazuka compound. The two young women and their passengers departed shortly thereafter. Location unknown. Naruto awoke in the early morning. Kurama's presence had burned all the booze out of his system, so he didn't have any sort of hangover. He actually felt very warm and amazingly comfy on the soft bed he was laying on with the warm soft pillows and blankets. He looked up from his position flat on his back and figured by the light coming in through the curtains that it was early morning. Where the hell am I? He wondered. He looked at the ceiling fan spinning lazily above him and saw some white lacy panties and an equally lacy lavender bra hanging off 2 of the ceiling fan blades. He started to sweat and wondered what happened last night. One of his warm pillows on top of him shifted and muttered, Naruto-kun, in Hinata's soft voice. Naruto's eyes were big as saucers as he looked down and saw Hinata-chan's mop of indigo hair snuggling into his chest. Those aren't pillows. He thought in a state of panic. That's when he realized he was naked as the day he was born. Then he noticed a light blue mop of hair on his other side, which sighed in Esdeath's deeper tone of voice. She shifted and coiled her leg around Naruto's before she made a pleased hum and fell gently back into her slumber. Feeling all those amazingly soft curves of 2 beautiful women made Naruto get an erection that was harder than steel, and he got a massive nosebleed as he wondered just what the hell happened last night. Kurama's voice echoed within his mindscape. Well, you may not remember, but it was one hell of a show from my point of view. With your hijutsu techniques you kept those 2 girls going strong all night long. If it wasn't for that ridiculous Uzumaki stamina of yours, they'd have probably screwed you into a coma. Oh. My. God. Thought Naruto before he fainted from shock and blood loss. Round 7. Triple KO. Chapter 6. The Inyazuka Compound. Ugh, ooh wow, ow, ow moaned Leon as she awoke from her alcohol-induced coma. Her head was pounding, and she awoke to see Akame staring at her with a deadpan look on her face and emotionless red eyes. "I see you've risen from the dead once again, Leon," said the black-haired assassin in a flat tone. "It took half a night to unbury you and Tsume-san from the wreckage of that bar you helped collapse. If it wasn't for Kiba-san's sister Hana-san partnering up with me, you'd probably still be buried alive." "I'll have to thank her later," mumbled Leon. "Please don't talk so loudly. I wish there was a universal hangover cure," lamented the cat-like blonde in a quiet voice. "There is," stated Akame. "Don't drink yourself sick and you won't have a hangover." Leon face-palmed. "That's no fun, isn't Kiba's sister some kind of medic? Surely there's some magic ninja cure for hangovers." Akame stared unsympathetically for a few moments and said, "I'll ask Hana-san." Akame quietly walked out into the hall and heard Tsume retching violently in the bathroom as she walked by. When she came into the front room, she saw Kiba cringing at the sounds his mother was making, while Hana was sitting there with a self-satisfied smirk on her face. Akame did her best to tune out the noise of Tsume praising the toilet gods and said, "Good morning to you, Hana-san, Kiba-san. It seems my friend Leon has awakened from her coma and she wants to know if you know of a universal hangover cure. I realize you're a veterinarian and not a doctor, but that's more than good enough for the likes of Leon, especially given she should have been arrested last night. Do you have a rabies shot you can give her and just say it will cure her hangover?" Hana chuckled and Kiba just winced at a particularly violent sound coming from Tsume. He said, "Akame, mom's suffering from Hana-ni-chan's universal hangover cure right now. I think it's something she picked up from her friend Anko over in torture and interrogation." Hana smiled meanly. "Actually, it's an old wives' remedy called a prairie oyster cocktail. It's made from raw egg yolk, Worcester sauce, Tabasco sauce, vinegar, salt and pepper. I also add hot mustard and the hottest jalapeno pepper I can find for that special touch." Tsume groaned loudly in the background before she started violently hurling again. "As you can tell by the sounds mom is making, it's quite effective at making one forget their hangover." "Yeah, you forget all about the hangover because you are too worried that you're going to die," said Kiba visibly cringing. "Hey, it worked on you, runt," said Hana. "I'm proud of you that you never drank irresponsibly again after teammates' drunken celebration of becoming Chunin." Kiba got a totally flat look. "I'd rather go through the 4th Shinobi War all over than go through your hangover cure again, Hana-ni-chan. Besides, Hinata-chan put away more booze than Shino and I combined. Why didn't you dose her with your miracle cure?" Hana looked thoughtful for a moment. "Well, truthfully she was only drinking due to peer pressure from what I could tell. Besides, I like her more than you and Shino. She was also more sober than you and Shino. Even Shino's destruction bugs were wasted. The poor little bastards were lying on their backs with their legs sticking up in the air. I mistook them for dead. So, I gave you and Shino a little morning pick-me-up as punishment." "You're so cruel, Hana-ni-chan," whimpered Kiba. "Flattery will get you nowhere with me, runt," chortled Hana. "Can you show me how to make this prairie oyster cocktail?" asked Akame. "It sounds like the perfect remedy to Leon's problem." "I'm really beginning to like you, Akame-chan," said Hana brightly. "I'll show you how to make it to cure your dear friend's hangover." "Sadist," muttered Kiba under him breath. Akamaru just whined in agreement. An hour later Kiba had his gear on and was getting ready to go out to train. Tsume had vacated the bathroom and was lying face down in the floor by her bed, praying for the Shinigami to come and take her soul to put her out of her misery. Leon was currently in the bathroom Tsume vacated recently, heaving her guts out. Akame was sitting in the back room with a minimalist smile on her face as Leon paid her dues for her outrageous behavior last night. There was a knock at the door and Kiba answered it and saw Kurenai there. "Good morning, Kiba-kun," said Kurenai. "Ready to train?" "Good morning, Kurenai-sensei," said Kiba. "Where's the baby?" "I left little Mirai in Yamanaka Ino's care. You know Ino just adores her," said Kurenai with a grin. "Have the others arrived yet?" "Shino should be here any minute because he always is here right on time, but Hinata's running late," said Kiba. "It's odd because she always arrives first, you know. Come on in and sit down, sensei." Kurenai heard the sounds of Leon's vomiting and Tsume's quiet groaning and said, "Let me guess. Prairie oyster cocktail." "Got it in one, Kurenai-chan," said Hana as she came into the room with Akame behind her. "Oh, Kurenai, this is Akame and..." "We've already been introduced in passing," said both red-eyed women in unison. They both paused and then both said, "We've already met each other, Hana." Hana got a spooked look on her face as the two apparent relatives stared at each other in puzzlement. "You were right, runt. Kurenai-chan and Akame-chan are so much alike it's haunting." "We really aren't related," exclaimed both black-haired beauties before they looked back at each other again. Kiba grinned and said, "I told you, Ni-chan. I think they're long-lost cousins or something." The curious Inuzuka siblings were getting ready to compare the scents of Kurenai and Akame just to be sure when Shino knocked at the door. Kiba welcomed him in and after exchanging greetings with everyone he noted the absence of Leon and Hinata. That's when he heard Leon going through another round of dry heaves. Adjusting his glasses he said, I see Leon is not going to be joining us today, but what about Hinata? It's highly unusual for her to be late. Kurenai said, why don't we just go over to the Haika compound and ask? Maybe she got caught up in something. They had absolutely no idea what something Hinata was caught up in and Hinata was blissfully sleeping with Naruto and Esdeath in the honeymoon suite of the swankiest hotel in the village. The Hokage Tower. So let me get this straight, Chunin Haika Hinata and one of our village guests Portas Esdeath thrashed the living hell out of 47 young civilian women who were attempting to gang rape Jen and Uzumaki Naruto. Said Tsunade with a face palm. Is this report serious or some kind of joke? Anbu Bear? Bear cringed. The Hokage quickly turned to her assistant Shizune. She pointed a finger accusingly at the dark-haired woman. You see what happens when I show up at work sober. If I'd been completely tanked, then this wouldn't have happened to my surrogate son Shizune. Gods. If he'd just had a responsible male role model growing up, this never would have happened to Naruto. Instead, he ends up with a perverted sensei named Hada Kakashi and then apprentices under the biggest super pervert in history. My teammate Jiraiya. Even Sarutobi sensei read those damned Icha books and he looked up to the old man as a grandfather figure. It's a small miracle Naruto-kun isn't a total pervert himself. Tsunade had no idea about Naruto's current situation at the Redwood Hotel, it was a good thing too. The fifth Hokage took a deep breath to calm herself. According to the report, the 47 girls were banged up but not seriously hurt, so there would be no need to press charges, although we will need to ask questions to all parties involved. Now that her small tirade was over, Tsunade cleared her throat and said, so where is the knucklehead and the two girls that are so obviously smitten with him? She looked expectantly at her trembling squad of Anbu, and all of them quivered in silence. Anbu Crow broke under the pressure and said, we have no idea where any of the three are. They completely fell off the map and we've looked everywhere, Tsunade-sama. We do know they haven't left the village, Tsunade-sama. Said Anbu Gecko supportively. Tsunade's face fell into a stony expression and she said, so in other words, none of you have a goddamned clue, alright, so did anything else happen last night that I need to informed about? Bear said, the Calamity Bar was leveled in a massive drunken brawl, Hokage-sama. While shaking in fear at the possible reaction from his boss. Was anyone killed or disabled permanently? Asked Tsunade. No ma'am. Answered all her Anbu as one. Tsunade shrugged, well, that's no big deal if no one died. She took a more chipper tone of voice. Hell, that's nothing compared to it exploding last time. That's the first good news I've heard today. She said with a smile. Everyone in the room sweat dropped at Tsunade's reaction to the local bar being leveled and possibly being bipolar. Standing up, the busty Hokage said, alright my loyal Anbu. Be on the lookout for Jen and Uzumaki Naruto, Chunin Haika Hinata and our guest Portas Esdeath. There aren't any charges, but I would like to talk to the three of them personally. The Haika compound. The Haika gate guards were very puzzled at Hinata's disappearing act and wondered what to do when Kurenai's team, plus Hana and Akame, showed up at the gates to the compound asking for their heiress. That's when Hanabi saw them and said, hello, are you looking for Hinata Ni-chan too? We were hoping she was here. Said Akame and Kurenai in unison. Hanabi took a step back and said, whoa. I had no idea that Kurenai-sensei and Akame-san were related. It's so obvious to me now that you're standing together. I can't believe I missed it. Both red-eyed women face-palmed identically. This was getting old. Hana snickered and got identical glares from both relatives. Shino cleared his throat. Actually, we don't believe they are related, Hanabi-san. When did you see Hinata last? Hanabi answered, late afternoon yesterday. She said she was going to training ground 8 to deal with a problem and never came home. She seemed really angry at the time. I hope she's okay. The concern in Hanabi's voice was evident. We'd best head to training ground 8 then. Said Kurenai. Can I help? Asked Hanabi earnestly. I'm worried about Ni-chan. Kurenai smiled. Sure Hanabi-chan. Your eyes would be a big help. Make sure you get your father's permission first. The Redwood Hotel. Naruto quietly awoke and filtered through his memories. The trip from the bar was still a blur. He vaguely remembered someone's head flying at him from across the table, but that didn't make any sense. But he remembered everything once they got into the hotel room though. Naruto felt it must have been temporary insanity on his part that took over. What the hell was he thinking? But the girls were so hot and so sexy and so incredible and amazing. Naruto knew his perverted godfather Jiraiya was probably up in the Pure Land, crying tears of pride and joy that Naruto was now super pervert also. Naruto wanted to shed tears of shame, but at the same time he felt so much love and joy in his heart at all the special and amazing things he'd shared with both Esdeath-chan and Hinata-chan last night. What should he do? That brought up a terrible thought of what would Hiro-senin do in this situation. Scenario 1. The girls wake up and want to murder each other in cold blood. Naruto solution. He felt he would have to physically keep the girls from harming each other, probably with an army of shadow clones, and try to mediate the situation no matter what it takes. Jiraiya's solution. Set it up as a naked mud wrestling match and sell tickets. Make a fortune off the betting and the whole spectacle. Use that cash to go cruise for other babes. Scenario 2. The girls wake up and want Naruto to choose only one of them over the other. Naruto solution. His thoughts once again turned to trying to mediate the situation. This wasn't some sort of contest. They were both truly beautiful and special women and deserved what was best for them. Jiraiya's solution. Milk it for all it's worth. Have these two luscious babes alternate every night and keep claiming you just can't decide between them. Even better, get them into a threesome. Scenario 3. When they wake up. The girls are both into it and want to have a threesome. Naruto solution. He really wasn't sure how he'd react in such a situation. He figured the first thing he'd do was pass out from a massive nosebleed. Hopefully after that there would be some sort of happily ever after. Jiraiya's solution. Hey, if the girls are into a threesome, why not a foursome or moresome of hot babes pleasing him? The more the merrier. Harem city here I come. Scenario 4. When they awaken. Both girls are knocked up and want him to marry them. Naruto solution. Somehow Naruto would have to take responsibility and be there for both girls and the children. His children wouldn't be without a father like he was growing up. It would be hard, but somehow Naruto would make things right. Jiraiya's solution. Dive out the window and run like hell. Leave the fucking country. If they track you down in a court of law, claim you're an innocent queer and those two British bitches force themselves on you and you can't possibly be the father. When he came out of his mental meanderings, Naruto wanted to slap himself senseless at even imagining Jiraiya's solutions. The last one about becoming a missing nin and claiming he was gay made him want to wash his brain out with bleach. Then the voice of reason, also known as Kurama, chimed in. Well, what can I say, Naruto? I guess the last of the alcohol must have filtered out of that tiny brain of yours and you can finally remember the events of last night. I don't have a clue how you're going to get out of this one alive. It was fun while it lasted. Your words of support are so touching I could just shed a tear, Kurama. Replied Naruto sarcastically. Help me here. Just remember that if Hinata-chan and Esdeath-chan murder me, I'll take you with me to whatever hell I end up in. Well, somebody's in a bad mood this morning. Groused the fox-beard. Look on the bright side. You won't die a virgin like I originally predicted. Now that was totally uncalled for. Complained Naruto. Are you saying it was a hit below the belt? Chortled Kurama. Are you feeling a little testy? Erg. Please Kami make it stop. Said Naruto as he cringed at his furry partner's tasteless sense of humor this morning. That's when he heard Hinata-chan's caring voice. Naruto-kun, are you alright? You are acting like you are in pain. Naruto opened his eyes and saw both girls were awake and looking at him with concern and love in their eyes. Both Esdeath's blue and Hinata's lavender eyes seemed to shine with care. Looks like they are awake. See you on the other side. Said Kurama as he hung up a sign in Naruto's mindscape that said closed for lunch. The last sight Naruto saw was the giant fox strapping on a parachute as he dived out of a cargo door in Naruto's mindscape that previously didn't exist. Damn you giant furball. You'll pay for this mischief in this world or the next. Roared Naruto impotently inside his mindscape. Naruto-kun asked Esdeath. The blonde ninja cringed slightly and said, I'm really sorry about that, Kurama was messing with me inside my head. I didn't mean to ignore you girls. Please let me live. He thought in a tiny voice. Hinata nodded in understanding, but Esdeath cocked her head to the side and asked, who is Kurama? Ooh oh boy, lamented Naruto in his head. Ahahaha. Funny little story about that Esdeath-chan. Training Ground 8. Team Kurenai and company arrived at the torn-up landscape that was their usual training grounds and saw signs of a battle. There was a perfectly circular chakra burn in the dirt from Hinata's Kaiten and numerous shards of ice still lying around. No doubt about it. Said Hanabi as she examined the circle with her Byakugan. This is definitely the marks of Hinata-ni-chan's Kaiten and the ground, and those shards of ice lying around are imbued with traces of chakra. That settles it then. Said Akame as she examined a small ice shard. It looks like Hinata and Esdeath were battling each other. We may want to check the hospital. Kurenai was confused. Who is this Esdeath person? Shino said, Sensei, remember when there was that massive killing intent near the village gates that sent the Anbu scrambling recently? Receiving a nod from his teacher, the bug user continued. That was Esdeath-san and Hinata-chan's combined killing intent as they both tried to claim Uzumaki Naruto was theirs from the other. Hana's eyes bugged out. Then Esdeath must be that light blue-haired chick I saw that was hanging around with Naruto. And Ni-chan has always out with Naruto-kun too recently," added Hanabi. "This could be bad. We should really head to the hospital," said Akame. Kiba said, "Well, the sense of Hinata-chan and another person are strong here. Let's follow the trail." Hana sniffed as well and said, "The other person has a polar smell about them like a snowfield." "That's Esdeath," said Akame. "Her Tigu gives her absolute mastery over ice." Akamaru barked, and he and the Inyazuka siblings soon were following the scent trails of Hinata and Esdeath. "It's kind of strange," commented Kiba. "They seem to be traveling together after they were fighting. I mean together, it's not like one was chasing the other." Hana nodded. "You're right, Runt. But what could make them suddenly stop fighting and walk away together? This trail is heading directly towards the market district. I kind of doubt they tried to beat the tar out of each other and then went shopping for clothes together as best friends. I'll never understand women," muttered Kiba under his breath. Shino nodded silently in agreement. Kurenai and Akame said in unison. They must have sensed a greater threat than each other then. The two red-eyed women stared at each other for a moment before looking in opposite directions and humming nonchalantly. Everyone else paused and stared at the pair before Shino cleared his throat and said, "Ahem. That is logical. Let's get back on the trail. It's creepy how much those two are alike," thought the bug user. The trail soon led to the side street that the epic girl fight had occurred on the night before and several Anbu were looking around. Cleanup crews were scrubbing the area clean of bloodstains and wetness. It had been quite messy, but no one was worse off than a concussion or bruised ribs. The Inyazuka siblings and Akamaru cringed as the harsh smells of cleaning chemicals hit their noses. "What the hell happened here?" asked Kiba seeing the massive cleanup team working away. Two of last night's male bystanders were nearby and one said, "These two incredibly hot blue-haired chicks beat the living tar out of a mob of crazy fangirls that were chasing Uzumaki. It was awesome. I mean, clothes were flying and some of the girls even ended up topless. It was a great man. You should have been there." Both guys had slight nosebleeds. The less than subtle killing intent from all the Kunoichis, plus Akame, present, started to seep into the conversation and the two witnesses quickly shut up. Kurenai said, "How do you two perverts know they were after Uzumaki Naruto?" She was obviously pissed. The second man answered, well, they were screaming stuff like, "Naruto-sama. Give me your babies and stuff." When the two blue-haired babes showed up they were all like, "Leave Naruto-kun alone or we'll kick your ass." So we figured the whole thing had to be about Uzumaki. Only he can get in that much trouble on a boring Thursday night when nothing is going on. Shino nodded sagely. On the last point there can be no doubt. Naruto is a huge trouble magnet, Kurenai-sensei. Kurenai sighed and asked the two men, "Did either of you see what direction the two blue-haired women went after the fight?" Kurenai got a disgusted look and said, "All men are pigs." Shino and Kiba wisely stayed silent at their sensei's ranting. The hunt continued. What if Esdeath has a crush on Naruto harem? End here and thanks for watching my video till the end.